Forbes.com also covers the Packers. We're going to take a look at another National League Central foe, the St. Louis Cardinals. Our buddy Kevin Wheeler down in St. Louis going to be giving us a shout coming up here a little bit later on today as well. Got some things to talk about regarding the NBA. But yesterday, when we were getting off the air, John Clayton, who formerly of ESPN, everybody knows John, longtime NFL reporter, says that there are 3 teams in the hunt for the services of J.J. Watt. And it damn near, when it comes to Packers fans, it damn near broke Twitter. So it basically was the Green Bay Packers, the Buffalo Bills, Tennessee Titans. Okay. And suddenly the Cleveland Browns were out of the mix. Okay. Well, today, now, depending on who you believe, today it appears that there are contract offers. Diana Rossini of ESPN is saying no. Now, I can't believe. If this is the money they're talking about, then the Packers shouldn't even be mentioned in this. Multiple sources are saying that the most lucrative offer Watt currently has on the table is believed to be worth $15 and $16 million a year. The Browns are among the teams that are still interested in Watt, and multiple reports, but not clear yesterday whether or not Cleveland has submitted an offer. We'll wait and see. But Cleveland.com reported last week that Watt had some mutual interest in signing with the Browns. Now, the Texans released him earlier this month. We all know that. But there's at least a dozen teams, including the Browns, Steelers, Titans, and Bills, who ESPN keeps harping on, that have expressed interest. They do not mention the Steelers or the Packers. So I don't know who to believe. Watt, turning 32 next month, finished the season with 5 sacks, a couple of forced fumbles, an interception. He returned for a touchdown. He ranked 15th out of 119 qualified pass rushers in pass rush win rate in 2020. That's according to ESPN stats and information. And don't forget, he was one of the best run defenders, according to Pro Football. Rusher, probably do side than on the outside, but you get what it is I'm saying. So it's I don't know who to believe, but I'll say this: if it's 15 to 16 million bucks for J.J. Watt, nah, baby, nah, ain't gonna happen. Ain't gonna happen. So we'll get into that discussion. Chris Middleton, not an all-star. Plus, the Bucks have come out with their, and the NBA has, with their second half schedule, as teams that have had games postponed because of COVID are going to have to hurry up and make all those games up because they do want to get the 72-game schedule in. So they want to do that, but the second half schedules come out. But the question is, no Chris Middleton when it comes to the all-star lineup. And we didn't really touch on this too much yesterday, but are you starting to regret that contract that Middleton signed? We can get into that discussion coming up here. Also, there is one particular NBA player who has brought it up and got approval already from Kobe Bryant's wife, the widow, shall I say. And whether or not there should be the NBA logo changed to Kobe's likeness. So we got all that coming up today on the show as well. But when it comes to the Packers and J.J. Watt, look, many of you have said take the hometown discount. It's all about winning. I have read reports that he has said money doesn't matter. I've read reports that says he still wants to be respected. I've read you see, there is so much going on out there. I'm like a lot of you. I don't know what specifically to believe. I don't know who was, reporting all this, and I don't know if it's from him. I don't know if it's from his people. I don't know if it's from his friends. Mark says, when you follow us over on the stream, by the way, says, I was on board with the Watt until I heard that number. I would rather re-sign Jones and Lindsley rather than chase that kind of stupid money. Call us 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. You can also hit me up over on Twitter. You can follow us there at Bill_Michaels, at Bill_Michaels. You can follow on the Facebook fan page. That's the live stream, The Bill Michaels Show. For the public page, look for the blue check mark, and then our YouTube channel and Twitch channel. Twitch, I'm creeping up 30, 40, 50. I want to get to 100. Maybe I'm greedy, but I'd love to get to 100 followers over on Twitch, watching the program every day. Simply find over on YouTube and on Twitch. Just simply find Bill Michaels, and you're good to go. Bill Michaels, you're good to go. So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, right. Bob says, analyzing all of the Packers' problems when it comes to money, J.J. Watt is not coming here. Now, and I got some people that are a little bit off the base. J.J. Watt is not coming here. We're $10 million over the cap. John, yes, you're $10 million over the cap, but you're not going to be. Okay, that number can be adjusted and will be adjusted before it's all said and done. So don't worry about that. It's not about being over the cap. It's about how much you're going to spend because you have other areas of need as well. You can't just blow it all on J.J. Watt. So I agree with you, but they're going to fix the cap issue. What they're not going to be able to fix is if he wants $15 million, they're not going to be able to fix that defense with J.J. Watt. I'll tell you that right now. Sean, you the man. The Kinger says, how is the Bud Light Lemonade Seltzer? It's good. You know what the difference is? We are broadcasting today in the Bud Light home studio, as I always do. Yesterday I was in Madison, though. I have to say thanks to Ebo and everybody out in Madison because they gave me a hand out there. But the Bud Light Seltzer is good. I mean, I've never been. Now you and me, we've talked, right? I've never been a big Bud Light Seltzer or just seltzer person. I shouldn't say Bud Light, but just seltzer person. But the Bud Light Lemonade Seltzer, they've added additional flavor to it, I guess. Because the biggest argument from seltzer drinkers is, oh, I'm doing it because of the calories. I'm staying fit and I'm still drinking an alcoholic. Oh, shut up. You look like an idiot because you take a drink and you look like you got a bad whiff of the northbound end of a southbound jackass. Okay, everybody that drinks seltzer, nobody I know likes it and goes, oh my God, this is delicious. No. Everybody goes, oh, this is so good. And then they look like they've sucked lemons and they've got terrible gas. The lemonade is good. It's got the additional flavor to it. So I'm all on board with that. I'll stick with the beer and the lemonade seltzer. The in-between, that's each his own. But if you're going for less calories, you go, because in the seltzers, I think it's only 100 calories. You're good to go. Just throwing it out there. You're throwing it out there. The poll question over on Twitter. So if you follow me on Twitter, or maybe you don't, and you would like to, at Bill_Michaels, at Bill_Michaels. The poll question is simply this. Should they change the logo from Jerry West to Kobe Bryant in the NBA? That's all I asked. Okay? It's a yes or no question. Yes or no. That's it. That's what's trending right now over on the Twitter poll question. 2,286 votes cast. 65% of you right now say no. 35% say yes. Should the NBA change its logo from Jerry West to Kobe Bryant? You can find me over on Twitter, and you can respond there as well. There you go. So going back to the J.J. Watt discussion. This is from Jim says, seems like a lot of money. Talking about Kobe, or talking about JJ, I should say. Signing JJ, if it turns Kenny Clark into Aaron Donaldson, it would be then worth it. Super Bowl run, correct? Well, you'd have to say two things. First of all, he's got to stay healthy. Okay, that has not been easy for him to do over the last few years. This past year, he was healthy. The last couple of years was not. So that's first and foremost. You take a risk. I mean, it's not just with JJ Watt; it's with any player. Any player at all. It's a risky thing. So that's first and foremost. And then secondly, what else how much money and what else do you have to fortify? Which is what we're going to talk with Rob Reichel coming up after the top of the hour, at top of the next hour. But it's what else you have to do, what else you have to fortify. If you have to fortify, a cornerback in free agency, an offensive lineman in free agency, and you're probably going to bring some of your guys back. You still got to pay your rookies, What else do you think you need to do in free agency? Then you're not going to have enough money. You know, it's going to begin and end with the restructuring of Aaron Rodgers, but you're not going to have enough money. So if he put anything over 10 million bucks, 12 million bucks, it ain't happening. I'm telling you right now, it's not going to happen because the Packers just don't have. I would be shocked. I would be shocked if it would happen. Kinger says I would prefer Zima. Zima, really? Did you ever drink Zima? Oh my God, Zima was like butt squeezings. That was nasty stuff, man. Zima was terrible. I remember that. Was it in the late 80s, early 90s? Zima was out. Ugh. Was not good. Was not good. Rick says, I just don't see the Packers borrowing too much from the future. They're not known for kicking cans down the road for one season. You are correct. However, you have to have all your chips to the middle of the table between now and the end of Aaron Rodgers' career, or whenever you restructure that contract to make it feasible to get out of. Because you can't screw around anymore. You can't. What are you building for next year? What are you building for in 2 years or 3 years? Because if that's what you're doing, just save your damn money. Pay Aaron Rodgers, get through one more season, and make it the Jordan Love era. Because I just think it's ridiculous. This one's from Kevin says, why did you change your stance on Watt from a few days ago? Because of the story about money. I really thought, the longer things went to where the rumors were less and less, that probably meant that they were working on something here in our own backyard. Okay. But when this comes out and it says multiple sources telling ESPN that he has an offer on the table believed to be between 15 and 16 million bucks, if it's about the money, no way. Packers can't do that. That's the reason I changed my stance. It's not that I'm changing it to say I don't want him here. It's not that I'm changing it to say I don't think he's coming here. But if it comes down to that kind of money or $10 million or $12 million, it ain't happening. He's not. If it's about that and being a title contender, there's other places you can go because that won't happen here. But if it's just about a shot at winning a championship over the next couple of years, then he can look right over the fence of green and gold and say, okay, I can fit into Green Bay if they're willing to give me a little instead of a lot. Kevin says it's always about the money. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. You'd love to get paid and win a championship. Don't get me wrong. Everybody would. But as you age and as your career gets past 30 years of age, guys that have not come close to winning a championship or have had a taste of the postseason, they want it. And once you've made so much money between the Verizon commercials, the Subway commercials, all the different things that he's done down in Houston, the guy's made over $100 million. You ask yourself how much is too much, right? He's set for life. His kids are set for life. What don't you have left in your career? Your body's been beat up. You just want to work your ass off for a ring. That's what you're doing it for. You want to be great another year or two for a ring. And that to me, John says, what if it's $8 million for 2 years? $8 million total for 2 years? In a heartbeat, I'm doing it. I would do that in a heartbeat. Brett says, I was watching MLB Network last night, and as someone who has your background, I would like your take. How important is athleticism in baseball compared to the other major sports? Depends on what position you're playing. You know? What position are you playing? So if you're a center fielder, you better have athleticism. You got a lot of area to roam. You got to have speed. You got to have leaping ability to go up over the fence. You got to have a strong arm. You know? If you're a shortstop, same thing, range, quickness, being able to throw, off balance, athleticism comes into play. If you're a DH, you're a tub of goo with the ability to hit a baseball. If you're a first baseman, scoop, catch, throw a little bit, maybe cover ground. You want to cover 12 to 13 feet. That's diving either way. The minute the ball's hit, you got to have a reaction to fall or dive either way. That covers 12 to 13 feet, depending on how big you are. you know? So that's what you cover. You cover from the line to whatever your length is plus the leap ability to that particular edge of the hole and let the second baseman do the rest. So that's what you're covering. So athleticism, it just depends on what position you play. Catcher, I think, is more athletic because of the ability to maneuver for pitches and blocking and getting up and throwing down runners. The body takes a little bit more of a beating back there behind the plate. Pitching, obviously, there's stamina, there's longevity, there's the ability to stretch your body out. There's snapping your arm, snapping your elbow. So there's certain things there. Things there. What else do we have here for you? Kinger says 3 phases in sports: rebuild, building for the future, and win now. Packers are in win now. Win now. John says that was $8 million per year. $8 million per year, I'd do that. That's a pretty fair amount. You'd love to get it a little bit lower than that, but $8 million a year, I'd think about doing that. Carl says Rodgers is done. Time to spend like a drunk sailor if you want a title. Rodgers, the guy is coming off of an MVP. How can you say he's done? He's getting up there in years, okay? And quarterbacks, they do fall off the table, but Peyton Manning didn't do it until after he was 40. You still see Tom Brady getting it done, even though Tom Brady didn't have a spectacular year. He was a guy that was being mentioned for an MVP as well. Leadership between the years, there's something to be said for that. That will give you longevity as a quarterback in the National Football League. So I understand what you're saying, but I don't think Rodgers is, quote, about done. Let's do this. We're going to step away, take a quick break. We're going to come back. Got a lot more to get to. So hang in there. And don't forget, coming up after the top of the hour, we are going to hear from Rob Reichel. He's going to be joining us from Forbes, and we're going to talk with him a little bit about this Packers deal. And also coming up after a couple hours from now, we're going to continue our look around the National League Central as we're going to hear from Kevin Wheeler down in St. Louis. We'll talk with him a little bit about the Cardinals. So we got a lot more coming up. Stay tuned right after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Wisconsin Sports.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Lived down a dirt road and made homemade wine like nobody I know. I dropped by one Friday night and said, "Can you help me, Creole? I got a little girl waiting on me and I want to treat her right." He said, "I got what you need."
Welcome back to the program. The Bill Michaels Show continues on 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. Get a hold of us also over on Twitter at Bill_Michaels, at Bill_Michaels. The poll questions over there as well. And that is, should the NBA change its logo from Jerry West to Kobe Bryant? I'll tell you why I'm asking that question coming up here after the bottom of the hour. You can email the program, thebillmichaels@gmail.com. That's thebillmichaels@gmail.com. You can also hit us up over on the Facebook fan page, facebook.com/The Bill Michaels Show. That's facebook.com/The Bill Michaels Show. You can find us on YouTube and on Twitch. And I appreciate it if you like or subscribe over on YouTube. The same thing over on Twitch as well. If you become a follower over there, really, really appreciate it. But just simply look for Bill Michaels. It's that simple. Bill Michaels. Michaels. Bill Michaels on YouTube. And you can find us there as well. So thanks to everybody for hanging out. And it's not too bad. Since we started the stream on our YouTube channel, which has been great, we have picked up a little over 1,000 followers, which is 1,000 subscribers. So thank you so much. 1.42 thousand subscribers and growing. So, and by the way, coming up, we're going to have a couple of different live stream podcasts for the happy hour. And we're going to do some really special ones coming up. So we're going to do some ones that are a little bit different from sports, but pay attention for those as well. Pay attention for those as well. So we got that. And I'll let you know more about that coming up. Same thing over on Twitch and same thing over on the Facebook fan page and such. So, yeah, I know there's some people that are saying, I think the stream froze. Yes, you are correct. I don't know why, but we will get everything restarted and get it going for you. Here real soon. So anyway, we were talking earlier about J.J. Watt and the report coming out from ESPN. Now, two things. There's differing stuff. Two things. Taking some rips, enjoying himself, getting back at it, if you will. So a lot of good stuff there coming out from Lorenzo Cain, and excited to hear him a little bit when he starts talking about, obviously going, getting his rips in and getting his legs back under him and getting back and ready for Brewers baseball. Also stating and saying that, oh, by the way, that he says Christian Yelich is a man on a mission. That's good to hear too. For people that get the money, they get that contract, they have a lot to prove, they have a lot of pressure, and then they don't have that season. It's always good when you've got a guy who's got enough character to say, you know what, that wasn't me. That wasn't the numbers I wanted. That wasn't what I wanted to put up. I mean, he's making a lot of money, and maybe there's another contract down the road for him. But I also think he's the kind of character guy that says, you know what, I got to go out and earn this money. I feel pressure now that I've signed this deal to go out and produce, not only for the money that I'm making and what I'm being paid, for my teammates, for the franchise, and for the fans. So it's good to know. It's good to know. So I'm excited about that as well. We're going to talk some Brewers baseball coming up in about an hour and a half from now. We're going to talk some Brewers and Cardinals specifically. Kevin Wheeler from our friends down in St. Louis, he's going to be joining us and talking some Kevin Wheeler St. Louis Cardinals baseball. I'm looking forward to that because I believe the Cardinals are the only team in the division that on paper sits better than what the Brewers have to offer, at least seemingly. Okay, if I had to pick it, I would probably say Cardinals 1, Brewers 2, and I've said before, I think it's going to be the Reds and the Cubs battling it out, and then after that, it's going to be the Pittsburgh Pirates sucking swamp water in the basement. So there you go. John says, what happened? John, I don't know. Everything froze up, so I apologize, but we're back. For those of you who follow us on the stream, glad to have you. Glad to have you. I wanted to get into, coming up here, Chris Middleton, not an all-star. And I've told you before, I don't care about the All-Star game. It's great to get the recognition from the fans, from your peers. It's great to be chosen. It's an honor. Some guys have money attached to it if they're picked as an All-Star, an additional bonus. Believe me, I understand the ramifications for all of that stuff. But when it comes to the actual game, it doesn't bother me. If I watch it, I watch it. If I don't, I don't. I really don't care. It's not destinational viewing for me. The only All-Star game that I really sit down to watch is usually baseball. That's it. Other than that, I don't care. Okay. So when Chris Middleton did not make it as an All-Star this year, the only thing about the All-Star game that I thought about was, okay, now you start to go through the list of really solid players in the NBA and those that are of the elite, for the most part, when you start to look at the names that are there and the statistics behind them, they're all deserving of the nod. Chris Middleton's getting paid a lot of money to be an all-star level player. So I asked the question, I said, is Chris Middleton worth the contract the Bucks paid him? Now, Ezekiel says Chris Middleton absolutely worth his contract. At first, I was against it, but he's improved from 2018 to 2019 by increasing his field goal percentage 60 points. Compare him to Paul George this year, who plays similar floor position. Paul George, 24.6 points per game, 6.2 rebounds, 5.4 assists. Crush goes 20.3 points per game, 6.1 rebounds, 5.7 assists. Plus, he's willing to take late shots in the game, 50, 40, 90. Players just don't come along. Chris is a great compliment to Giannis. Thank you. See, that's the argument. Is he the compliment to Giannis that you expected him to be? And while the nod is numerically, I'd say, yeah, I keep looking at the postseason. And when it's coming down to crunch time, who's the guy getting the ball? Chris Middleton is, I think, almost by default at times. When you get Drew Holiday back, maybe that changes things a little bit. But is Chris Middleton that guy? See, I think Chris Middleton is a good player. I don't think the level great is associated with his name. I think he's a good complimentary piece. So when you ask the question about the contract, which was posed to me, and I'm asking you, my opinion, I will give you when we come back. Because when it comes to being a guy that's getting a max contract, there's two types of players that get it. And I'll explain this all when it comes to Chris Middleton, the contract and such, when we come back. Hang in there. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Phil Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Phil Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Phil Michaels will resume in 3 minutes.
If you don't show me your number, you don't get an answer.
Phil Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Phil Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Phil Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
saying, is the baseball bat in the corner for protection? No, I've explained before. That bat has my, somebody got a signature, an autograph for me one time, took it over to a bat company, and had my you know how, players sign their bats? Mine is signed. It's embossed with my signature. So, which is kind of cool. So it's there as part of the memorabilia. Yes, earlier too, for those that are watching on the live stream, we go to Dog Cam, which basically the dogs, Mickey's laying by the television. I think he's watching TV right now. And Elmo's under the desk, so you can't see that. But yeah, somebody said, hey, I want to see the dogs. Well, that's Dog Cam. There you go. Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. We got all kinds of stuff, weird stuff being sponsored now. Dog Cam. Dog Cam. Glad to have you. Okay. So we were talking about Chris Middleton, and I wanted to explain when you look at contracts and why you do what you do. Remember when Michael Redd was on the open market and he was coming up to, the Bucks could match any offer, and they ended up paying him a max contract. And it wasn't a good contract. We all can admit that. But remember, at the time, there wasn't anybody available that was a sharpshooter that had a good 3-point shot like he did. And Redd had developed into a pretty solid, I'm not going to say one of the better, but a pretty solid 3-point shooter at the time. I mean, who knew that he would go through the cold spells that he did? And then obviously his defense would regress over the years. But when Middleton was up for contract, he's Giannis's buddy. There was a lot of reasons to keep him. He was the best of the rest of the lot that was out there. You pay that guy because somebody's going to. And sometimes you have to look at it and say, nope, we're not going to be in that market. But with Middleton, I think you have to say, yeah. So monetarily, we can argue about the worthiness of an NBA player for what it is they're being paid. That's always up for speculation. But when it comes to paying Middleton, you kind of had to at that point in time. So is he the max guy, the Robin to the Batman? Is he the Black Mambo 2.0? No. But he's a really good player. He's not great, but he's a really good player. He's a good piece for this Bucks team. The unfortunate thing for the Bucks team has been the ability to pick up an additional play. Well, now Drew Holiday fills the bill. Okay, as soon as they get him back, and it looks like he may be back by the weekend. You can cross your fingers, but because he's been traveling with, or he's been with the team on the bench, so you would assume he's back allowed around the guys. So therefore, if he's allowed around, to be around the guys, then you would assume he's practicing, right, or at least starting to. And nobody has ever said specifically what it is, other than when Chris Middleton said when he tested positive. So we all assume he tested positive for COVID, so he went into the protocol. But I think Chris Middleton, when you talk about the contract, it is a little bit of an eyebrow raiser. But for the player he is, for what you're getting out of him, you expected more, but he's stable. But Chris Middleton, when you start talking about guys in the NBA that you want to have the ball, last shot, fire it up, his name doesn't come up for a while. You go through a laundry list of players first before you get to Chris Middleton. So you can go Bradley Beal, Steph Curry. You can start going through that list. James Harden, even LeBron. You can put him on the list, but LeBron might not be tops in that list. But LeBron's missed a lot of last-second shots. And he's made a lot, but he's also missed a lot. He's not as higher percentage on the last-second shot as some of the other ones I just reeled off. But you get my point. Chris Middleton, he's not high on that list, but he's not off of that list either. For those of you that want to say he stinks and this and that, you're crazy. You're crazy. He's always going to be a lightning rod because of the contract and the productivity, and he's a very quiet counterpiece to Giannis. He's very quiet about it. There's nothing spectacular there. You know what I mean? So that's the reason that there's this argument out there about Chris Middleton. But it does raise an eyebrow when he's not an all-star, when he's not considered at that level by the fans, by his peers. You know what I mean? that there's guys now, the East has changed powers, certainly, but by the guys in the East, you wonder where he's at, you know? John says maybe the Bucks were just afraid that Giannis would leave. And you know what? You're getting rid of Jason Kidd. You get rid of his guy, Chris Middleton. You know down the road you've got Giannis coming up for the Supermax. You probably wanted to keep him happy. And also don't forget, when they brought Budenholzer in, before they went public and said, here's our press conference, here's the new coach of the Bucks, what did they have him do? He sat down with two people for dinner. Who was that? Giannis and Middleton. Those are the two. Because so Middleton is considered one of those cornerstones of your team. And with Giannis as his buddy. So that's the reason also you're willing to overpay a little bit to keep Chris Middleton around. So there you go. What else? Landon says, bust out the Traeger. The Traeger right now, you can't see it, but the snow just finished melting off of it yesterday. I still got about 8 to 10 inches of snow, I guess, around it because there was so much snow. At least the snow on the roof is pretty much gone. At least where the coils were on my roof, at least that's pretty much gone for the most part. But there's still, God, if you look at my roof, there's still a foot of snow on my roof right now. Still a foot of snow up there. But the Traeger's finally, when I bust out the Traeger, I promise you, we'll do something. I may even put it here on the patio. I may bring it up here, put it on the patio, maybe grill out. Opening day, we may do the grilling out right up here. Right up here in the studio, right behind me. We'll put Traeger cam outside. How about that? Huh? How about that? I'd do that. This one's from Jerry. He says, I hear you're going to be on 570 and Marinette starting Monday. Yes. We are proud to say we are continuing to grow as a network, and we're back on in Menominee Marinette. Loving it. My buddy Jim Callow out there, just saw him over the weekend, as I had mentioned, and they've got everything ready to go. And yes, we're coming back. So we are we're in Madison, La Crosse, Eau Claire, Viroqua. Our good buddy Ernie Betts in Viroqua. We're in Wausau. We're starting in Menominee Marinette next week. We are going to be back on in Rice Lake, for those of you paying attention to us in Rice Lake. And we got some more. Some things I can't quite announce yet, but we got some more. Brett says, how's that tiki bar with all that snow? Tiki bar is looking good. The cover's over it, though. So right now it's a giant tarp. It's a giant tent. It's a 40-foot tarp that goes around the thing and goes down damn near to the ground, and it just sits over it, keeps everything, relatively clean and dry. But I do need, here's two things. If you know anybody that has one, the Land Shark Neon. Remember the Land Shark signs? I've always had one on the tiki bar. All right. And I'm a Land Shark fan. I know a lot of people don't like Land Shark beer, but I do. Land Shark, I need a Land Shark Neon. So if somebody has one out there that they're willing to give up and or take for a few bucks, let me know. There you go. Let's do this. When we come back, why? Because many of you aren't understanding what the poll question is. The poll question is up to 2,735 votes. Should the NBA change its logo from Jerry West to Kobe Bryant? Okay? Jerry West to Kobe Bryant. It's not something that I brought up. It is merely something that I put out there, but I want to discuss it when we come back. We can carry this thing for a little while past that as well. So stay tuned. Got a lot more. The Bill Michaels Show on this Thursday edition coming up right after this.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling, yeah. Oh.
Welcome back to the program, The Bill Michaels Show. And so good to hear you. Yes, and for those that follow on the live stream, I get it. The audio when it comes back, the music on the live stream, got to explain it almost every day. Somebody goes, I can't hear it. It's breaking up. That's because it is copyrighted. So we want to make sure we're doing the right thing by not playing the full segment. So we get it back. So we mute it for a little bit and then bring it back and then mute it and then bring it back. And then that way we don't get into any kind of trouble. So that's why we do it. Okay, so this is the reason the poll question is out. You can chime in. 2,806 votes. 2,806 votes since this went on the went live about an hour ago. Okay, just a few minutes before the top of the show. Should the NBA change its logo from Jerry West to Kobe Bryant? 65.5% of you say no. 34.5% of you say yes. Now, why do I ask the question? Kobe Bryant passes away last year. The NBA quickly wants to pay homage to Kobe, okay, in so many different facets, and rightfully so. Kyrie Irving, though, wants the league to go farther. He wants the league to change the logo. He has gone public with this. He checked with Kobe's widow on this. She's said yes, if that would happen, great. So currently the NBA logo has featured the silhouette of Jerry West since 1969. Even though the league doesn't publicly say it, that's the picture, that's the image that it's been used, okay? So Kyrie says, it's got to happen. I don't care what anyone says. Black Kings built the league. Now, to me, first of all, Kyrie Irving then shares an image of Kobe Bryant dribbling the basketball, laid over the logo in a way to resemble the silhouette's pose, what it should be. Okay. And the image was used on change.org petition last year to change the logo. Okay. So, first of all, he immediately goes to color. And so, in other words, if you vote against it, you're almost, the insinuation is you're racist. And I thought to myself, there's been a lot of tremendous black athletes in the NBA, but there was Larry Bird, Dirk Nowitzki, John Stockton, Steve Nash. You look at Jerry West, Pete Maravich, Pistol Pete Maravich, John Havlicek, Kevin McHale, Rick Barry, Bob Cousy, George Mikan. George Mikan, don't forget. Then I started having to look. There's Bill Walton, Chris Mullin, Bob Pettit, Porzingis, Pau Gasol, Luka Doncic. So, Steve Adams. You can go through the whole list of terrific players. Steve Kerr. You could, I'm just kind of throwing people out there, but you get the point. There's been a lot of, the league itself has been diverse, and when you start thinking of the league in color, then in essence, isn't there already the tinge of racism there? As if to say, if you don't change it, you're racist. So I started thinking about this, and for the people that vote yes, if you take it just on the merits of what it is, would Kobe be deserving? What about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? What about Michael Jordan? So if Bill Belichick were to die in a crash today, do we have to change the football trophy over from the Lombardi to the Belichick? Would people say that? Because if you're basing it strictly off of merits, you could say probably not. This is something historic. Maybe you create an award, the Bill Belichick Award or whatever it happens to be, the Bill Belichick Coach of the Year Award or something to that effect. But the way Kyrie Irving puts it, it's innately racist. It's basically saying it's a black league. We want a black logo. That's what he's saying. So it wouldn't have to be Kobe. It could be any particular black player that he would be talking about. And again, it's a very touchy subject because in today's day and age, you can't say anything about race. Otherwise, you're labeled a racist. And I'm just kind of throwing it onto the table just for the fact that when Kyrie states it, he should just say, in my opinion, Kobe Bryant, the new modern logo. Okay, update it. I can see that. Then we can have a debate. Should it be Michael? Should it be Kareem? Should it be Kobe? Should it be LeBron? You can go through the list, right? Or if you want to take it a step further, once a guy like Giannis gets it, should it be maybe instead of a guy dribbling a basketball, a guy dunking a basketball? The top 10 highlights every damn night on ESPN are dunks. If anybody over 6'7" can't dunk a basketball, 6'8" can't dunk a basketball, that's something to really write home about. Beyond that, you got a bunch of guys dunking basketballs. Every now and then you get a crazy pass or, a big three or something like that. But for the most part, it's some guy with an unbelievable shot, maybe getting just hacked and fouled or something, and it flips it up and goes in. But for the most part, count how many dunks per night are on ESPN for SportsCenter. So I would go with a dunking, not a dribbling. I'd go with a dunk, Maybe you get Jordan in that fall away jumper that he was so good at, right? Maybe that becomes the logo. But to say black kings built this league, in essence, it's just inherently a color issue, and that's what bothers me. For the sensitivity we're supposed to have today, where we're supposed to be nondescript when it comes to color, that is all about color. And that's what bothers me about it. So that's why I put it up there. Should they change the logo? 2,842 of you now have voted. 65.6% of you say no. 34.4% of you say yes. We'll keep this going all throughout the day. And by the way, great point. Eric says, one of the greatest early on ever. If you want to change the logo in era, go to Wilt Chamberlain. Bill Russell. Bill Russell got more rings than anybody. Go to Bill Russell. So I'm good with that. 877-867-1670. But when we come back after the top of the hour, we're going to delve back in to the discussion regarding the Green Bay Packers. We're going to talk with Rob Reischel. Forbes.com covers the Packers as well. Writer, written books about the Packers and such. We're going to get his thoughts. That is coming up after the top of the hour. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show. That is next.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Despite just playing 5 games of a 60-game shortened Major League Baseball season, Lorenzo Cain took last year off. He is now back with the Brewers at spring training and says he's excited to get underway for the 2021 campaign.
I'm already putting in the work. I'm already swinging, hitting every day, out there running, catching fly balls. So I think I've looked a lot better than probably people thought I would early on in camp. So it's about continuing to do that, as well as kind of progress into, live pitching. And that's the biggest thing, just seeing, guys throwing 95 again is going to be the biggest shot.
Opening day for the Crew is just 35 days away when they welcome in the Twins to American Family Field on April 1st. Wisconsin basketball has 3 games left of the regular season, and it is no cakewalk. They'll end the season at Iowa against the Hawkeyes. The second to last game is on the road against Purdue, and then starting on Saturday, they welcome in the 5th-ranked Fighting Illini of Illinois. Here's more from Dimitri Trice.
We're going to go on a roll here soon, and I think that this is the game to do it. It's got to be now if we're going to make any type of push into the Big Ten tournament and carry that momentum into the NCAA tournament. So I think that we got the guys with it. The coaches are ready for it.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
When a company only does business in Wisconsin, that's Wisconsin Strong. Rural Mutual provides all lines of insurance, including commercial, farm, home, and auto. And your premiums stay right here to keep Wisconsin strong. Local agents, local underwriters, local claims adjusters.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
The Milwaukee Bucks are looking to push for their 4th win in a row when they welcome in the New Orleans Pelicans tonight to the Pfizer Forum for an 8:30 tip. The Bucks currently sit at 19-13 on the season. That is good for 3rd place in the Eastern Conference. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
Our good buddy Rob Reischel is with us on the line. Rob, how you doing, buddy? Rob, you there?
It's great.
There we go. There we go.
I'm outstanding, Billy. I just wanted to say it's great to have you in all these new, various different ways because the state missed you those couple of weeks when you were gone. The state needs your show, and I think it's wonderful that you're back and flourishing in so many different outlets.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Very kind. Very kind. Rob, the number one question everybody has on their minds is J.J. Watt watch. And yesterday we hear from John Clayton, who says it's down to 3 teams, the Packers being one of them. And then today you read out of the 4-letter network saying that he's got an offer on the table for $15 to $16 million a year. That's not from the Packers, I can tell you that. So what do you think happens before it's all said and done?
Yeah, and Bill, John Clayton backed off of that statement then a little bit yesterday, too. He said some of his words were misinterpreted. He said those were maybe the three leaders, but there were still about a dozen teams involved in chasing J.J. Watt. And I totally agree with you, Bill. Green Bay's just not in a financial situation to offer 15, 16 million. And Billy, if it comes down to just money, he's not going to play in Green Bay because Green Bay will never be able to match that. I mean, Green Bay right now, and let's just guess that the cap ends up in the range of 185 million. Green Bay still bill about 6 million over that cap. And, if it ends up even going lower than that, say to 180, Green Bay's 11 over. And so Green Bay's going to have to get rid of some players just first and foremost to get to that cap number. And then they'd obviously have to get rid of even more to fit J.J. Watt in. Now, there's always ways to do things, right? They could restructure Aaron Rodgers here. They could restructure Zadarius Smith. They could give guys like Devontae Adams and Jair Alexander new contracts because they're going to be due. They're up for new contracts here this year anyways, and they could save some of the hits and cap hit on particular guys. So the way right now, Green Bay is a long shot at best. To kind of answer your initial question, there are teams out there in far better salary cap space than the Packers are. The Browns, for example, have about $25 million to play with. The Ravens have about 25 to play with. Bill, for example, and I don't know if they're in this at all, but New England has $70 million to play with. I mean, there are teams that have money that they don't know what to do with, and they're going to come at J.J. Watt with some pretty big dollars and cents. And at the end of the day, if for him to have a reunion inside this state where we all know he's just beloved and an icon and a hero, it's going to be really hard to make it work from the dollars and cents standpoint.
Which I completely agree. And I've said this all along. I think if they get him, it's going to be an outside shot at getting him. And it depends on if he's just doing it strictly for the shot at a ring to do it with his hometown team, or if he wants the money involved, or both. Then I think it becomes an issue in which somebody else is going to deal with that. Now, you tell me, what is this? If you had to prioritize needs this coming off season, what are they?
Oh, boy. I mean, we're going to have to – it's a tricky question, Bill, and I'm not trying to dodge it. You know me. But we're going to have to see how free agency plays out, right? I mean, if they lose both Jones and Williams at running back, which I anticipate they will, that's a huge need then, obviously, in the draft. And they'll look to fill that and find a complement, maybe even two, for A.J. Dillon heading into next year. I anticipate Kevin King's going to be in a different uniform next year. Right now, I would put corner, Bill, at the number one need. I think, number two, they dramatically need another playmaker up front, somewhere in that front seven. The preference, I think, would be at defensive end, which J.J. Watt would certainly cure that. But J.J. Watt is $15 million versus the 29th pick, for example, in the draft, who would be at about $4 million. We know that's a big difference, right? So, but they need to upgrade from the Dean Lowrys, the Tyler Lancasters of the world, and they need to find a playmaker next to Kenny Clark there to cause some damage up front. I mean, we all know they dramatically need an inside linebacker who can make some plays. They just never seem to feel that that's a huge need, Bill, and they dodge it and they avoid it year after year in the draft. I mean, we're talking back to Desmond Bishop and Nick Barnett since there's been a playmaker at inside linebacker for the Green Bay Packers, right? I mean, it's been a decade since they've had somebody there that strikes fear in an opponent's offense and that you're looking out for. Those would be my three. Obviously, the three main spots right now on defense, Bill. They could suffer some more hits here too in free agency. They're going to have to draft on the offensive line. I don't think there's any question about that, Bill. Lindsley's going to be gone. I can't imagine they find a way to bring him back. He's going to command $9-10 million on the open market. So, do you slide Elton Jenkins? Do you slide Lucas Patrick over to center and then draft a young guard in to kind of plug and play inside the lineup? I think that's highly possible, and they'll go that route there. And as Packer fans have been screaming about, Bill, for 3 or 4 years, wide receiver is certainly a need. I mean, it's Devontae Adams and, a bunch of guys you're hoping can get to 50 catches along the way. I mean, Devontae's not a spring chicken anymore either, Bill. At some point in time, they're going to have to draft the number one wide receiver of the future, whether that's this year or down the road. It's probably down the road, but they need a nice complement to Adams. And, I don't know if they can get a young guy to come in necessarily and be the number 2 right away, but they certainly need to add some young blood to that position, and it might help them too, Bill, to find a slot receiver, because they haven't had a difference maker there since Randall Cobb was in his prime. So really, when you think about it, for a team that's 13-3 each of the last 2 seasons, 26-6 under Matt LaFleur, a team that's been to consecutive NFC Championship games, they really do have a lot of needs, Bill, to stay up in that top 2, top 3 of the conference.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Talking with Rob Reichel, sports editor, and publishes with Forbes.com. He covers the Green Bay Packers, author of numerous books regarding the Packers as well. So I look at this team and I say, first and foremost, you got to fix the defense, because as we watched Tom Brady win a championship, he doesn't do it without a defense, and Aaron Rodgers has been bereft of a really good one for quite some time now. So I want to see them bolster this defense. I'm of belief that you cannot find a corner in the draft that's going to come in and be a big-time impact player, lockdown corner that you're looking for right away, just because it takes time to develop. And I don't think they have time. I'm of the belief you got to start pushing your chips to the middle of the table. Is that the priority, free agent-wise, that you would say if you can find it at a good price, you go get it?
Yeah, and that guy then, when it's all said and done, might just be Kevin King. I mean, Kevin King cost himself millions and millions of dollars in that Tampa Bay game.
Right.
His film from the season was okay. But Kevin King, who probably a year ago was sitting around thinking he'd command 10 to 12 million on the open market, is probably going to get half of that bill. My question becomes, they did find Jair Alexander at number 18 in the draft a couple of years ago, but you are right. Most of the time when they've gone high in the draft at corner in the last 6-7 years, back to Demarius Randall and, even Josh Jackson now and various guys along the way, they've missed on the majority of those guys. So, they've missed more than they've hit. And you're probably right. It's tough to find a guy at 29 who's going to step in and be a key contributor and a high level starter right away. So your best plan of attack in all likelihood is to find a 1 or a 2 year stopgap at that second corner. Again, whether that's Kevin King or some other guys who end up on the street when some of the price slashing and the gouging of players is finished here, Bill, and that's going to happen. We're in a really unique year where we've got 18 or 20 teams that are still over the salary cap, and they're going to have to get rid of some really quality football players along the way to get their numbers right due to this, because of this COVID, and the fact that cap is actually going down for the first time in forever. So there's going to be good players on the street, Bill. They can probably find a quality starter at that second corner for $3, $4, $5 million and draft a young guy then to take over for him by 2022, 2023. You talked about going all in. And I'm with you, Bill. I think that would be my plan of attack too. When you think about the fact Rodgers is 37 now, he'll turn 38 during the regular season. It just hasn't been the philosophy of the organization for really the last 20 years since Ron Wolf went away. They don't just go for it, Bill, and then say, all right, in 2025. We're okay being 6-10. That hasn't been their business model. Now maybe that changes. If it does, maybe you even see a J.J. Watt in a Packer uniform. Bill, I'm with you. I would go for it here over the next year or two because you don't have much time left really with Rodgers. But again, I'm not sure that's the approach they're going to take. You look back to last year's draft; they went completely the opposite direction, right? So I don't know exactly what Gutekunst is thinking. It's going to be a fascinating free agency period. It's going to be really an intriguing draft in terms of where the Packers go.
Talking with Rob Reichel, Forbes.com, covering the Packers. It starts with Aaron Rodgers. When do we hear about a restructure of his deal, do you think? Do you think they're working on that right now?
I'll be honest, Bill, I wouldn't. Whether they are or not, I guess, is up to them. I'm guessing, Bill, again, just back to my last point, it's not how they've done business in Green Bay. His cap hit this next particular season is $37.5 million. Would they love to get that down to 30 or 28 and pick up that salary cap room and sign another starter or two? Yes, for 2021 they would, but again, that you're kicking that contract, you're kicking that can down the road where you're going to pay on it then 2-3 years down the road. And And again, at some point in time here, they are going to turn this football team over to Jordan Love. And is that what Brian Gutekunst and, Matt LaFleur and Russ Ball kind of want at that point in time? Do they want 10, 15, $20 million of dead cap money from Aaron Rodgers sitting on their books? No, I don't think so. Now, if they go ahead and restructure that contract, that does tell you they are certainly more all in than they've been in a long, long time for 2021 and maybe 2022 as well, if they can go ahead and do that with Rodgers. But again, Bill, just kind of tracing the history of this organization over the last 2 decades, it's not kind of the Packer way to go ahead and do that. So I know a lot of people out there think that's what they should do and that maybe that's what they will do. But, Bill, if I had to bet $1, I'm going to guess that's going to be his cap hit, and that's going to be his contract when he shows up again in July.
It's going to be interesting because without restructuring him, now you get rid of, say, Preston Smith as a June 1st cut. Maybe you look at a guy like Funchess, you save a couple million, a few guys that you may let go, Dean Lowry. But you're not going to gain a whole lot of money there. That's why you figure with Devontae Adams, maybe even Jair Alexander and contract extensions, you gain a little bit. But you wouldn't gain enough to really be impactful in the free agent market at that point then, would you?
Well, Bill, if they wait on Preston Smith until the June 1, that's $12 million. So that's going to be a nice chunk of change. Now, if they do it here before the new league year in the middle of March, it's $8 million. So either way, they're going to. And I don't want to go as far as saying that's a done deal, but I certainly think that is going to happen. That they'll save the money on Preston Smith. You'll see Rashawn Gary snaps jump to 75% from 45, which is what he was at this past season, and they'll draft a third defensive end. Or I'm sorry, a third outside linebacker to line up there with Smith and Gary. I would think they go that route. Bill, there's going to be some really good football players sitting on the street come June that teams are going to be able to get really for a song, for a 1 year, $3 million. I mean, high level starters, former Pro Bowl players. Because Bill, the salary cap flux and salary cap hell that so many teams have been thrown into with the reduction in the cap has really caught a lot of teams off guard. It's almost like, Bill, back to the early and mid 90s when teams for the first time were figuring out how to make the salary cap work, right? And every year on June 1, you would see quality play. You'd see a Deion Sanders on the street, Bill, right? Because Dallas hadn't factored in exactly how to pay for him and stuff like that. I mean, I'm looking right here as we're talking, Billy. New Orleans, $66 million over the cap. Philly, $40. The Rams, 28 over. Kansas City, 20 over. I mean, all these teams, Bill, and we're going to get rid of some really good football players, and they're going to be sitting there. I know that Packer fans right now are freaking out about Aaron Jones and Preston Smith and Corey Linsley and losing these various players, but I'm telling you, they don't play a game for 6 months, and they're going to be able to find really good football players on the street in June. And if they position themselves, Bill, where they're 10 or 15 or even $20 million under the cap somehow, by getting rid of the Preston Smiths and the Dean Lowrys of the world, they're going to be able to find a corner and a guard and an inside linebacker and maybe a third wide receiver sitting around on June 1 for a pretty good price. And if Brian Gutekunst chooses to kind of conduct business that way, Bill, I think they've got a chance to stay right at the top of the conference.
Real quick before I let you go, we talked about the wide receiver position, and it was an area last year we thought they needed to upgrade desperately. Now, with what we saw, the emergence somewhat of Marquez Valdez-Scantling, obviously Equanimeous St. Brown down the stretch, maybe you can bring back an Alan Lazard. With what they have, minus Aaron Jones out of the backfield, because we all believe he's gone, with what they have, is that more than serviceable? Can you get back to an NFC Championship game carrying that same amount of weaponry?
Oh, absolutely, Bill. I mean, let's not forget they led the league in points, right? I mean, they were top 5 in almost every major statistical offensive category. I'm a big believer personally, Bill, that A.J. Dillon, if they give him the ball 300 times next year, he will be in the top 5 in the league for rushing. If they make him the bell cow, Bill, I think he's ready for it, and I think he's got a chance to be a Pro Bowl level player. You don't draft a running back in round 2 and sit him on the bench real long in this league. And so even without Aaron Jones, even without Jamal Williams, again, I think they'll find a complement to Dillon whether that's a third down little scat back who catches 50 balls or a guy they take in the 4th or 5th round and they give him 100 carries or something like that. I think the run game, Billy, will be just fine. And you saw it last year. I mean, they don't have to pay Tunyon yet. They don't have to pay Lazard. Those guys are restricted free agents, so they can get them another year, kind of on reasonable contracts. MVS has 1 year left on his rookie contract. If Rodgers is even close to the player he was this past year, and there's no reason to think he wouldn't be, Bill, he definitely has enough weaponry around him. That was an incredibly high level offense. My only problem with it is he kind of had, he had that love affection and love affair with Devontae Adams, where in the NFC title game, he only had eyes for Devontae at really critical times. If he trusts those other guys, Bill, a little bit more, I think that offense could even go up a notch from where it was this past year. So they're going to take some hits. I mean, there's no doubt about it here in free agency. But if they can kind of find some replacements, serviceable replacements in the draft, and then that June 1st level type free agency, Bill, I think they'll score 30 points a game again next year without a problem.
Rob, great stuff as always. I appreciate it. I may not feel any better after this conversation, but I certainly appreciate you joining us for a couple of minutes, pal. And you take care of yourself. Say hi to the family, and then we'll talk again soon, okay?
All right. Sounds great, Bill. Thanks a lot.
Buddy. Talk to you later. There you go. Rob Rice joining us for a couple of minutes. A little earlier, Rob obviously has written numerous, 8 Packers books, and a sports editor at News Publishing Company, cover of the covering the Green Bay Packers for Forbes.com as well. So a lot going on with Rob, but a lot of things to kind of mull over there. Doesn't think J.J. Watt's going to end up here. A lot of players going to be on the open market. But I'll say this, going back through, and just from what we stated, cutting Preston Smith and Dean Lowry gives you some money, but it doesn't give you a lot. We'll talk about this coming up next on the Bill Michaels Show.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket, this is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Watching on the stream, you're probably wondering, every now and then you forget you're on the stream. You forget that people are watching. So you get into air guitar and all that kind of stuff. So there you go. Mark says, where's the dog cam? The dog cam is up and running. The problem is the dogs are gone. Mickey went downstairs to bark at something, and Elmo is now under the desk, and I don't have the under the desk cam. Just to name it that sounds weird, so I'm not going to. So you know. Want to say hi to Dan Robbins, listening to us on the East Coast as well, Packers fan. And we get Packers fans from all over the place. So where you're listening to us today, just let us know. Okay, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on Twitch, if it's on Facebook fan page, if it's on YouTube, whatever it happens to be, respond. And let us know where you're watching the program from or listening to the program from today. Thanks so much, as always. We certainly appreciate it. So last segment, we were talking about Rob Reischel. And one of the things that I thought was interesting that he said was you don't restructure Aaron Rodgers. And my question is, if you don't restructure Aaron Rodgers, how are you going to get to the point where, because the way I did it and the way it sits right now, if you cut Preston Smith on June 1st, if you cut Dean Lowry on June 1st, that'll give you about $4.5 million of cap space. That's it. It's not a lot. You know, I guess you can re-sign or extend Jair Alexander, give yourself some money. But if you say restructure Za'Darius Smith, it gains you about $5 million, $6 million bucks if you can kind of restructure that deal, where the cap number becomes about 14.3 million total, because you got the prorated bonus, which is 12.6. So you kind of move numbers around. Kashina, Wisconsin, Menominee Indian Reservation up there. Oh, that's from G-Dub. G-Dub, there you go. Bill listening to us from Slinger. Chris listening to us in Milwaukee. Nice. Nice. Everybody hanging out today. Loving it. So if you restructure Aaron Rodgers' deal, you can gain anywhere from $8 to $10, $12 million. Then all of us, if you restructure Aaron Rodgers and Za'Darius Smith, you're sitting at about $26.1 million under the cap, which seems a little more sensible, doesn't it? You would then extend Devontae Adams. You know, you give him a contract extension. It would be about the same, give you a little bit of flexibility this year. Maybe you extend Jair Alexander and you get a little bit of flexibility there. So you're sitting at about 28, 29 million under the cap, just in those moves alone. You know, that to me sounds more like, not only can you do that, I don't have a problem pushing the can down the road for Aaron Rodgers, because we know quarterbacks in this league. We were watching Tom Brady win at the age of, 43, 44. We watched Peyton Manning win at the age of 41, 42. We have seen quarterbacks, hell, Favre played till he was, 42? So we have seen these guys extend that lifespan of a quarterback in the NFL. And so I'm not worried about Aaron Rodgers. Za'Darius Smith is younger. He's still under 30. So I'm not willy-nilly about extending him a little bit. You know what I mean? And then you sign Devontae to a contract extension, sign Jair, and then you're sitting there in pretty good standing after things are all said and done. So I'm more apt to do that. I mean, I don't know about the rest of you, but I think that's the only way you get there. And again, if you're going to push your chips to the middle of the table now, you have to kick the can down the road, right? So that's just my thought. Kinger says Shano Kashina. Scott says, can you remind us what happens when they don't get under the cap? You got to let players go. You got to get under the cap. You don't. You can start losing draft choices and everything if you don't get under the cap by a certain date. MPDCIB says, I'm listening to you and watching you on Twitch in Milwaukee. Joe is listening to us and watching us in Tucson, Arizona. Chris says the biggest thing we need is a win now mentality from management. That I agree with. And I also, because Mark says got to get another linebacker, something brought up that Rob Reichel said just moments ago that reminded me of this. Now, this may be a different regime that has a different belief, but remember when Ron Wolf was running, or when Ted Thompson was running things, Elliot Wolf went to the podium in one of the press conferences and says, well, as a scouting staff and as a staff, we don't value the middle linebacking position as much as you do. Well, we have seen what really good middle linebackers can do. So you don't value it because you don't have one. I've always felt, and who was it? God. Name escapes me, so I'm going to move on. But the bottom line is, you don't value a particular position when you don't have that position. You know, we don't value lockdown corners as most of you do. Well, when you get one, it's like, we got a lockdown corner, we're good there, you know? We don't value middle linebackers the way the rest of you do. No, because you run safeties and corners all over the damn place and playing dime all the time because you don't have really good top-notch linebackers. Duh. We don't value as many big, beefy down linemen as you do because you don't have one. You got one guy. Then you got outside linebackers. After that, you're kissing your sister, man. It doesn't mean anything. But when you had big beef up front, quality beef, when you had B.J. Raji, you had Cullen Jenkins, you had C.J. Wilson, you had Howard Green, you had that Ryan Pickett, you had that list of guys up front. Well, it all starts up front. We got that beef in the trenches. It's a crap argument when you're just basically falling short of admitting you don't have the quality you wish you had. Might be the best way to put it. Says Bill Highway 55 in Kashina, and hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. If I'm not, call me an idiot and write it out phonetically. One of the top roads to ride motorcycles in Wisconsin. I will have to look for that. I'll have to look for that. Chris says, with Barnett, our last good middle linebacker? Nick Barnett, well, the year the Packers won the Super Bowl was the best year of A.J. Hawk's career. Nick Barnett was solid, yeah. Ooh. Since then, it's been kind of a mishmash of guys that have been safeties to play middle linebacker. And, yeah, I mean, you can kind of look at it. They've had everybody from Bishop to, I mean, just name it. I mean, they drafted a lot of guys. Oren Burks was supposed to be a guy that was going to come in and fill the bill, and he's on a milk carton, man. It's been a while, no doubt. Desmond Bishop was another one. Desmond Bishop was the other one that you were talking about. Yeah, absolutely. That was, looked like Tarzan, played like Jane, man. Right? Let's do this. We'll step away. We'll take a quick break. You know I'm a dog lover. You know I'm an animal lover. So I got a story that popped up. I want to relay it to you because I'm just like, oh, my God. And I hope there's a great outcome. And you may not give two damns about this, but I do. So I'm going to tell you what it is. That's coming up next on The Bill Michaels Show.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is The Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
got to hit it, bang it, rock it, put it in the pocket. Hit it, bang it, rock it, put it in the pocket.
That one I knew was going on. There you go. What? A good day today. We certainly appreciate you hanging out with us. Went to break. I told you this was a story that hit me because I can't imagine it ever happening to me. Not that anybody would ever want to do this to me, but Lady Gaga, her dog walker was shot yesterday. Did you see this? Her dog walker was shot. She has 3 dogs. And her dog walker comes to the end of the driveway or wherever it is they came out of, out in California, out in Hollywood. And her 2 French bulldogs, Koji and Gustave, were stolen. Her 3rd dog took off running when the shots rang out. He fled the scene and was later recovered by the police and brought back home. But about 9:40 last night, Pacific time in Hollywood, California, man in his 30s walking the 3 dogs. When a male suspect approached the dog walker, shot him. The guy's in critical condition. According to the LA Police Department, the suspect then took 2 of the 3 and took off in a white vehicle. Now, Lady Gaga, but right now, by the way, she is currently in Italy, offering a $500,000 reward for the return of her 2 stolen dogs. So her people are confirming this. But man, I now, not that anybody would ever steal Mickey and Elmo. I would pray not. But oh my God, I can't imagine my dogs were ever stolen and my dog walker shot. Oh my goodness. So, by the way, Pat, you the man, watching on Facebook in Superior, doing the morning workout today. Good for you, man. That's awesome. Got up this morning, did mine. I have the shoulder issue, as you know, if you follow the program, and I haven't done the exercises in the last few days. And boy, I was feeling it. I couldn't even hardly put my shirt on today, so had to get back into the gym and start working the shoulder again, just to kind of loosen things up. I've said this before. I look like an idiot because I'm at the gym and people are in there doing 25, 35-pound dumbbells and weights, and if they're doing presses or lat pull downs or whatever, they're 70 to 150 pounds and everything. I'm over there with a 3-pound weight, just dying, trying to do all this stuff to loosen up my shoulder. And it started out with a 1-pound weight. It was basically like adding another finger to me. And so the 1-pound weight, I increased it to 3 pounds. And that right now is about the max because it's really complete iso intensity when it comes to the workout on the shoulder just to loosen it up, but it's there's so much pain there. So, but I look like a moron. I just do. Kinger says, do you have a dog walker? No, I don't. If I had a dog walker, I would feel terrible if my dog walker was shot and my 2 dogs, Mickey and Elmo, were taken from me. As a dog lover, I just, I can't imagine that. Dan says, watching in Tomah, Wisconsin at work, pretty slow in the car sale business right now. Dan, where you work at? Give us a shout. We'll tell people to go over if they need a new car to go over and say hi to you. So see how that does up there in Tomah. Appreciate it. So, hey, by the way, another update out of California from the police department. Did you hear? Now, there was a lot of speculation, and I told you got to wait. Got to hang in there. Got to wait. No drugs, no alcohol, no impairment at all in the accident revolving around Tiger Woods. None. There is a now, they did not say whether or not he was texting or anything like that regarding the phone, but there is no, none of that. No drugs, no alcohol, no nothing in Tiger's system. Now, they are going to test again just to be sure, but they didn't believe that there was. So they had already come out and stated that, nah, baby, nah. They are now looking and investigating that stretch of highway because when you see the above view of that particular highway, as we all watched as the car was rolled over in the ditch down in the ravine and the whole thing, and we're just all aghast at what happened. but it doesn't show you the slope of that road and the windiness of that road. So apparently people that you don't even need to touch the gas pedal coming down that hill, and you're doing 80 miles an hour. So you're just riding the brakes the whole way down. And apparently the road, it's not a hairpin turn, but it is like a hard right hand turn in this highway, and then a harder left hand turn in this highway. It kind of does an S. So the argument is that, if you've never traveled that road before and you're going too fast, you can just lose it, which this stretch of highway has had numerous accidents in recent history. So now they're looking at the danger of this particular highway. What is a little bit, I'm going to say, concerning in the way because originally when we were on the air and we were starting to look at this thing, how this car ended up across the median and down in the ravine without skid marks, apparently what happened to other accounts is that when it hit the curb before going across the median, it began to roll there. It skidded and then began to roll there as it crossed the median, and it rolled numerous times over the other side of the road and then down the hill, which makes it even more scary and unbelievable that Tiger didn't lose his life. But from people that I've talked to, orthopedic surgeons, and I told you I'm getting my shoulder work done, so I'm talking to Doc about this and a couple other friends that do this for a living. The likelihood of him coming back and playing probably should be off the table at this point, because they said it is going to be a minimum of 9 to 14 months of rehab, depending on how quickly his body recovers. Okay. And then what was brought up to me by my surgeon, he said, you got to remember, he had just had the back surgery. So you don't even know if the back surgery was completely affected by this or not. So if it was, then you got to figure the back out, because as he starts rehabbing, bad habits are going to be developed to compensate for the pain in the leg and in the back. And the fact that they had to put rods to straighten and repair the tibia and the fibula in the right leg, plus the ankle that was crushed. Numerous bones in the ankle were crushed. My guy said he's going to be lucky to walk normal again, much less play golf. So golf should be off the table at this point. We shouldn't even worry about that. So, which I completely understand. Let's see here. Dan says, Brennigan Chrysler Ford, right there by Morris Automotive Group. So there you go. Dan up there in Toma. Chris says, I understand the past, but people were waiting to jump on the alcohol or pills angle. So that was understandable. And then Kyle says, listening in on Alaska. So a lot of people chiming in today. Certainly appreciate it, as always. Lance says, I'm watching in Eau Claire. We have an affiliate in Eau Claire. 105.1, our fine affiliate up there. Sports Talk Radio. So you can listen and watch, Lance. You the man. Good stuff. But I wanted to bring both of those stories up because I thought it was a little piece of newer news that maybe you had not heard. But there were so many people that were willing to jump on the drugs and alcohol angle. And I'd said at the time, I said, you know what? He's gone through that, man. Once you go through that, you don't ever want to do that again as an athlete or as a star. So I couldn't imagine that being the case. So when this happened, the only thing, my first thought was, I pray to God he wasn't like texting and just lost it in that stretch of road. So, which apparently, like I've stated before, many have said over there that it's very likely you can just lose it just because you don't need to be doing anything. So anyway, that's the update on both Tiger. And then the horrible story about Lady Gaga and a dog walker being shot. But Lady Gaga's offering $500,000 for the return of her French bulldogs, Koji and Gustav. So there you have it. More of the Bill Michaels Show. That's coming up next.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to the program, The Bill Michaels Show. We are live. We are here. We're on the air. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Hit us up over on Twitter, @Bill_Michaels, @Bill_Michaels. You can find us. The stream, by the way, is on Twitter. It's on Facebook, on the Facebook fan page. You can watch us or watch me if that's really your thing, if you want to do that. You can find me on Facebook, The Bill Michaels Show. YouTube and Twitch, please, if you could, subscribe. I ask. Hopefully you like the show enough to subscribe or like us. But find me on YouTube, just simple Bill Michaels. Same thing on Twitch, Michaels, Michaels. Hey, good news if you're a Frasier fan, and I am. Frasier is one of the reasons I have Hulu. I mean, I like Hulu because I can travel with it, so I can watch it pretty much anywhere, which is nice. But Frasier is coming back from Variety. The Frasier revival has officially been ordered at Paramount. Plus, Kelsey Grammer will return in the title role, in addition to the executive producer position as well. But Frasier is coming back. They're bringing a lot of these old shows back because anything new sucks. Although the new Magnum PI sucks. I will say that sucks. Hey, by the way, speaking of shows, has anybody binge watched the 6 hours of The Widower? It's like a Dateline type of thing. I think it's on Dateline. I think Dateline did the piece on it. It's called The Widower. I think his name's Tom Robinson. That guy is a freak, man. Last night I fell asleep in about the last hour of the episodes of the last episode. So I didn't get a chance to see the outcome yet. So I don't want to know it. But when you talk about binge, if you're into the crime and punishment type of stuff, if you're into Datelines or 2020s and things like that, which I am, if you're into that kind of stuff, this guy's a nutbag, man. He's just an egotistical, narcissistic nutbag. So if you haven't seen it, man, I can't recommend it enough. Just because historically speaking, it goes back and looks at this guy's, out of 6 wives, only 2 are remaining. 4 are dead. I mean, now 1 died of cancer. Another one they claimed shot herself, even though they, when you look at the whole picture, you believe that he had something to do with it. And even the woman that died of cancer, they believe he killed her. He went into the room and killed her. So it's just, and one of his wives was actually warned that she was going to be next. So she ended up leaving him and still was in fear for her life because he has insurance policies on all these women. It was bizarre. I started watching this thing, and the guy's just a creeper, man. And I think we all know somebody kind of like this, just a creeper. So that's kind of what I've been binge watching, because people ask every now and then for good binge watch stuff. I am going to go back. Julia says, have you seen the Tiger Woods documentary? Tiger did not participate in the documentary. So it's all the stuff about him, but it's the stuff about him. It's the stuff about him that has been published, but he did. It's not him doing the biography. It's people, publishers and such, that wanted to take a good hard look at Tiger Woods and a fair look at Tiger Woods, I thought. So I've seen it, but I'm going to go back and watch it again. To answer your question, yes. The depressed fan says, yes, watch The Widower. My God, you're spot on. Thank you very much. So yeah, it's guy's a freak, man. Guy's an absolute freak. But don't, if you've seen it already and you've watched the thing beginning to end, don't tell me the end of it. I don't want to know, because I have not seen it all yet. Last night I fell asleep in the last episode. So I got home from Madison, and I ate some dinner last night, made some dinner and such, and ended up, kind of just crashed last night. The dogs and I, it was funny because I was sitting on the couch and I thought, man, I'm going to sit down and watch this thing. And I started to kind of feel really, really tired. Like you hit that midday lull, but it hit me at about 8:30 last night. So I thought, well, you know what? I'll go upstairs. I'll turn the TV on. I'll just lay in bed and watch it, until I fall asleep. Well, unfortunately, I fell asleep pretty early last night, so I didn't get a chance to watch the end of it. But yeah, it's really good. It's really good. Let's see here. What else do we have here for you? Tom says, I have a friend that was in a helicopter accident. Oh my God. And had his ankle completely trashed. All going back to the Tiger story. It's not the same, but he is just gingerly walking on it now. That was 2 years in June. The only reason he survived the crash was he was 2 weeks out from an Ironman competition in Canada, and he was in such great shape, the crewmates alongside him perished. Man, my condolences. Holy mackerel. That gives you a little perspective on how hard it is to recover from that type of trauma. Ben says, tragic what happened to Tiger, but kind of sad. It takes a superstar to have an accident and at a bad stretch of road for the authorities to actually say, maybe we need to do something about this. You're 100% correct. You are 100% correct. Let's see here. Wasn't Frazier moving to San Francisco in the series finale? I believe he was. Quarantined in Fox Crossing. Check out Peter Boy's Barbecue in Sherwood. All right. Doc says, love Frazier and Cheers. Good stuff there. Love that. WandaVision, have not seen it yet. Heard a lot about it. Have not seen it yet. Good binge stuff. Good stuff there. John chimes in, new to the show, absolutely loving it. He is listening to us in South Dakota. And says, if you ever come out this way to Sturgis, I go there every year. Please let me know. As a matter of fact, that you say that, John, I want to go back. And this is the year that I want to go back. We have already talked about it and had some inner meetings. The summer gets crazy for me with schedules and appearances and such. I take a week of vacation. I always go down to the house down in Indianapolis, or down in Indiana, Brookville, Indiana. So I usually go there. And I've already got the dates for that. But when I get back, Sturgis is like 2 weeks after that. I've got golf tournaments. We've got state fair. There's just all kinds of things going on. So I want to squeeze it in this year. And we have got a really good line on a place to stay. We just are looking for an RV company to work with. Because I need the RV for 4 occasions this year. We're going to do 2 stints at Road America for the Indy Series and the NASCAR Series, and we're going to do Sturgis, and then there's one other one that's on the docket I can't get into yet, but we're going to have some fun this summer. So that's what we're looking into. But John, you know what? I will let you know for sure. We'll start promoting it if we are going for sure. Hopefully here in the coming months. Okay, good stuff. Tim says, I subscribe on YouTube. Should subscribe as well on the other sites. Whatever would help. I'm sure. On Twitch would be great. You know, you can follow us in all different facets. Love it. Tim, same on Twitch. The Bill Michaels Show over on Twitter or over on Facebook. Good stuff. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up after the top of the hour. Welcome back to the program. We are glad to have you. Thanks so much. We'll be talking some baseball coming up here in about 15 minutes. Hang in there for that. Our good buddy Kevin Wheeler, he's done it all down there. KMOX Sports in St. Louis. He's done everything. He's done everything. KMOX Sports. He's done the Open Line, MLB Network Radio, Mad Dog Sports. I mean, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to talk with Kevin about the St. Louis Cardinals coming up here shortly. So hang in there for that. If you got any questions regarding the Cardinals, we can certainly, we'll ask him. But I really believe it's going to come down to the Cardinals and the Brewers in the chase for the National League Central. By the way, the update on our poll question: should the NBA change its logo from Jerry West to Kobe Bryant? It has grown. 66% of you now say no. 34% of you say yes. 3,165 votes have been cast thus far. The reason we asked the question was because Kyrie, and I get it, Kyrie Irving, you got to consider the source. But it got traction in the Washington Post. It got traction in USA Today. It got traction on the Four Letter Network. Kyrie Irving wants the league to go further than just honoring Kobe. They want him to be he wants him to be the new NBA logo because he says, quote, Black Kings built the league, which to me, whenever you bring the color into it, you're inherently making it a race issue. So I like I said, I went through the list of stars that there's black and white stars that have been in the National Basketball Association. I think it begins and ends with Larry Bird, and there's Dirk Nowitzki and John Stockton and Steve Nash, and you can go through that whole list. But, hell, there's Jerry West and Pistol Pete Maravich and John Havlicek and Kevin McHale. There's just so many. So anyway, Kyrie wants it changed for that reason and thinks it should be Kobe. Now, if you're going to change it, I would consider Kobe in the mix, but I would say Michael. Probably Michael, really, if you want to talk about one of the greatest players is Kareem. Certainly Oscar Robertson. You know, you could almost get Oscar Robertson with that big leap where he's got the basketball and he's in midair with his legs completely spread out, almost like doing the splits. You could go with that. I mean, that would be because Big O, buddy. I mean, you're talking about one of the best all-around players. So you can go with Oscar Robertson. But there's Kareem, there's Michael. I mean, you can go. There's Magic. I mean, there's so many other players you could go to rather than just going to Kobe because he was killed in a helicopter accident. So I think Kyrie's a pretty good player, but I think sometimes he's a little off base. That's just what I have to say about it. Anyway, that being said, so if you want to chime in, there's plenty of ways to do so. Call us, 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. You can hit me up over on Twitter, at Bill_Michaels, at Bill_Michaels. Facebook is simply, it's easy. Go to facebook.com/The Bill Michaels Show. And please follow us and like us there. You can click follow or like or whatever you would like. Over on YouTube and Twitch, it's simply Bill Michaels. Michaels. That's Michaels. And you can find the channels there. And please subscribe and hit us up over on Twitch too. Thanks so much. We have, by the way, KMOX. Great memories of KMOX. Used to listen at night on the AM from northern Wisconsin. Loved Dan Kelly calling the Blues games. There's a lot of, when you talk hockey in the state of Wisconsin, obviously, Wisconsin hockey comes up first and foremost, okay? And then if you really want to talk about the gold star moment of hockey was when Mark Johnson and the 80 Olympic team, and they beat the Russians. You know, do you believe in miracles? That when you talk hockey in this state, it begins there with me. And then there's the Admirals, obviously, and I go right to Phil Whitliff and then all the players that have come through the system and gone on to really do really great things in the NHL. But obviously, there's a lot of Blackhawks fans, Detroit Red Wings fans, and Blues fans in the area. Now, when you do get up to the western portion of our border, a lot of Wild fans up there too. You know, got a lot of hockey talk in the Wild area. You know, as you start to get the crossover. You know, I know cheeseheads hate it, but you start to get that crossover a little bit. You get that little bit of that bleeding purple there. You get that little Superior area. You get them in Eau Claire. You know, they start to leak into some lacrosse. You know, you get a little more purple in that area too. Don't get me wrong. It is still dominated by cheeseheads, Brewers fans, and such. But even the Cubs. Cubs have an infiltration of fandom when it comes to some Wisconsin as well. But I do. That's where it kind of begins with hockey for me and goes from there. Brett says, I'm a fan of the LA Kings. The Kinger says, got to go with the USHL. The Green Bay Gamblers as well. There's some good hockey here. Look, I mentioned the Admirals. The Gamblers, I get it. This one's from Nicholas. Glad to have you back on WSQ in Marshfield. Listen every day from Loyal, Wisconsin. Not Loyola. Loyal, Wisconsin. Good stuff there. If you want to chime in, do it. This portion of the program is being brought to you by our good friends at Bud Light Seltzer. Go to budlight.com. I'm broadcasting from the Bud Light studio as well. We got to make a mention of that. Thanks to them for being with us for such a long period of time. Kent says, in regards to J.J. Watt, I think anything over $6 million will be paying too much. As much as I want to see J.J. come back here, your thoughts? I said 6 to 8. You know, good number. Fair, I think, for what the Packers are looking for. And if he wants to play for the Packers, that's probably going to be about what it is. I was hoping for less than that, but I think realistically speaking, if you're sitting there with $15 million on the table, it's hard to say that any of us would say, heck with it. We're going to go play for next to nothing for the Packers because that's my hometown team. You and I might say that if we've made $100 million. But if you and I are sitting here today and there's one team offering you 15 and another team offering you 8, it's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. That's a schism, baby. That's a canyon. It's a canyon of cash. I don't know. How much does your win first morals go down when there's money, that kind of money involved? You know, you'll do things you don't want to do because of money. It happens every day. Happens every day. You know what? One of the best stories, it was years and years ago, I was talking to Euchre, and he got into this discussion about, you know, some of the acting jobs that he has had. And I know, look, there's some things he doesn't like to touch on. And I get that. I've always respected that. But somebody had asked him one time about, I think it was Mr. Belvedere. And look, I'm sure he enjoyed the show. I'm sure he enjoyed the cast and the people he worked with. It probably wasn't one of the things that he wanted to be known for. But the question was posed, and I can't remember who asked it. I don't know if I asked the question or maybe I just heard the answer to it. But we're sitting there talking, and somebody, the question was basically posed. I shouldn't say somebody, but the question was posed that stated, so if you didn't like Belvedere, if you don't want to talk about it, why did you do it? And Bob's response was what you hear from a lot of people. If they bring a dump truck full of money and back it up to your house, sometimes you just say, okay, it is what it is. I get it. Now, we're not talking about, making $100 million in your lifetime. I bet you Bob makes, when you get into salaries, I bet you Bob's about $1 million a year as a broadcaster. I mean, I know what some broadcasters make in baseball. Now, if you're just starting out, you're not making anywhere near that. It's, over 100, it's six figures, but it's not seven. I'll tell you that. But, and like I said, just because I've known in the past what some have made, but I got to thank Bob for his longevity because Bob was and is, I would say this too, maybe not as much now because the team has gotten, exponentially better. But for years, Bob was the cover of the media guide. It wasn't the team. It wasn't players. It was Bob. Bob was the cover of the media guide. So when your best asset is your broadcaster, your team's not that good, which is why Bob was such a staple. That's why people listen, because it wasn't for tuning in whether to see the Brewers were going to win or lose. That was a byproduct. You tuned in for Bob. There is a general and a sad loss in baseball, because baseball, you can wax nostalgic about many different things. There's a romance to baseball as opposed to other sports. Today, they all sound the same, man. Sucks. It sucks. It's why I like listening to, I'm from there, obviously, but I love listening to Jeff Brantley on the Reds radio network. And you can hear it up here at night on 700 WLW, but I love listening to Jeff Brantley because he's got that Southern twang. He's got some stories. He's got some insight. He's got, interjection in that particular manner. And I enjoy that. Because you got to fill the time with something that captures your imagination. Bob did that. Bob does that. Now the stories may be the same, from years gone by. I mean, you can only tell the same thing or tell so many stories before they start to repeat, right? So we may have heard them once or twice, but they're still good. But there's the experience, the painting of the mental picture that takes you behind the scenes that you can say, I can almost see what it is he's talking about. You can almost smell the smells of the ballpark when Bob Uecker comes on, because he's just baseball. That when you hear the stories, when you hear him talking about the day or a golf tournament or a golf outing earlier that day, or going fishing on the boat, all that kind of stuff. He's so good at that, so good at that. But and the stories, while they're from years and years and years gone by, they're dated. They're not out of date. You know what I mean? So there's a romance to baseball. I like that. Brett says, didn't Brantley get himself in hot water? No, that was not Jeff Brantley. That was Tom Brenneman. Tom Brenneman did. And Tom Brenneman had a microphone on and said some derogatory things in reference to San Francisco and the gay community. And I will say this, though, and I've said this before, that I think everybody deserves a second chance. I think Tom does as well. But Tom, to his credit, I've stayed a little bit in touch with him and his dad, Marty. Tom has indoctrinated himself into the community in Cincinnati where he lives, into the I always get the letters mixed up, the LBGTQ community. So, and they have come forth to say, look, this guy, he's not inherently homophobic or, uses slurs continuously. This was a description he dropped on the air as something he had heard more so than the way of thinking that he is. So they have even asked his outlets, whether it be Fox Sports or the Reds or whatever, for forgiveness on his part. And it hasn't happened through the Reds, but we'll see what Fox does. I think he was up for the Anaheim Angels job as well. I think he was actually looking there or Oakland. I can't remember, but I think Tom will come back. Tom's a pretty good broadcaster. I know some people may not like him because he's very quiet when it comes to the broadcasts of television. But, you know, the old adage in TV is you let the picture speak for itself. But anyway, yeah, you're right. But no, it wasn't Jeff Brantley. So Scott says something great announcers can do is fill time when the game is a blowout. Bob, the best at it. You are right. John says, where's J.J. Watt's wife playing soccer? That could have a huge influence. Chicago. Tom says, baseball announcers need to be entertainers as well. No other sport has that requirement. You are correct. The people that try to interject something to make something out of nothing, I'm okay with that if it sounds pure and not forced. But you are right. There is something to telling the story in baseball. And I would still, to this day, my dream was always to be a baseball announcer. Always was. Always will be. I think that growing up with my mom, the way she was a baseball fan, the way my dad was a baseball fan, going to Reds games when I was a kid, listening to Waite Hoyt, and then listening to Al Michaels, and then listening to Marty Brennaman. And I used to be able to pick up Jack Buck on KMOX, and I could hear the Indians games and the Detroit Tigers games for years because of the transistor radio I would keep in my bedroom. I'd keep an earplug in at night when my mom would say to go to bed. I'd put it under my bed and I'd turn it on and listen to the game and fall asleep. But there is something you have to capture in baseball. You have to. I'll be honest, and this is nothing against the Brewers broadcasters other than Bob, but when Bob's not there, I'll flip it on, I'll flip it off. But with Bob, it was like I had to have it on at the Tiki Bar in the backyard. Had to have it on. You know? Had to have it on in the car, had to have it on in my head, mowing the grass, whatever it is I was doing. Had to have it on. Bob's not there, I don't. I just don't. It's not a slight. It's the fact that there's a delivery there. There's a romance there. They still give you the stats. They give you the statistics. They give you a laugh every now and then. I get all of that. But there is and maybe it's just, I don't know, maybe it's old school. Call it what you will. But there's something to it to be said for a really, really, really good, entertaining broadcaster rather than a media guide reader, a stat sheet reader, somebody who can paint a picture to me to where they can bring me into the stadium. I can damn near see it if I close my eyes. I can laugh with you. I can cry with you. I can feel elated with you. I can feel just completely deflated with you. All of that. You got to bring me in. And as somebody who does this for a living, I don't listen to radio the same as so many other people do. And it just, if Bob's not there, it's kind of falls flat. So anyway, let's do this. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk some St. Louis Cardinals baseball. We got our buddy Kevin Wheeler down in St. Louis. He's going to give us a lowdown on the Cardinals coming into the season, and we'll get his thoughts on what the Brewers have done and what they're doing and how they look on paper and how close they are to chasing the Cardinals when we come back. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Rural Mutual Insurance recently issued a special dividend to support their auto, home, farm, and business customers to help keep Wisconsin strong. This dividend will pay out over $5 million back to their policyholders. Visit ruralmutual.com to learn more.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
You are with us. Thanks so much. We certainly appreciate you hanging out with us. Pitchers and catchers are there. Position players are there. Play begins this weekend in Cactus League and in the Grapefruit League. And to talk more about the team that many people, I believe, are going to be chasing in the National League Central, the St. Louis Cardinals, our good buddy Kevin Wheeler down there from KMOX. And so, I mean, you start to read the list of accreditations to Kevin's name. It's like, holy mackerel. Kevin, how you been, buddy?
Good. I'm glad that my work on popping up my name is paying dividends.
Oh, MLB Network, Mad Dog Radio, just I can go through the whole list, but it's like, oh my God, you've done everything. So you tell me, as a Brewers fan sitting here today, I believe the Cardinals are the team to beat. I think the Cubs are going to fall off. I think they're going to be battling Cincinnati for third. I think Pittsburgh sucks, and I think the Brewers are probably going to end up second in this thing because I think they're very quietly they put together a decent pitching staff, and the return of Lorenzo Cain. I think you're going to see the reemergence, if you will, of Christian Yelich and the offense. So you tell me what you think the division is going to look like.
We're pretty much on the same page. I think that, to me, Cardinals and Brewers are the two best suited for winning the division, especially over 6 months. I think the Cubs and the Reds both have a chance, right? They have a bunch of things go right that haven't been going right the last couple of years. I mean, there's a chance they could jump in there. But I kind of agree with the way you lay it out. I do think the gap, though, it doesn't strike me as being very big, right? Like the Cardinals and Brewers are probably, in the 90-ish win range, somewhere in that general area, a little bit above, a little bit below. And the Cubs and Reds, one of them will probably be mid-80s and the other one maybe low 80s. And I don't think there's a huge gap, but I kind of agree with the way you see it. And I don't think there's much of a gap between the Cardinals and Brewers at all, unless the Cardinals have a bat or two kind of take a step forward, right? I mean, adding Nolan Arenado to the lineup from last year is going to make a big difference, right? They're essentially swapping Nolan Arenado for Colton Wong in the lineup. I mean, it's basically going to be the practical effect. So defensively, obviously, you guys, you're going to love Wong, by the way. He's fantastic. And adding him and returning Lorenzo Cain should make the Brewers a much better defensive team than they were last year. But the Cardinals don't lose anything defensively in the infield by replacing one Gold Glover for another. But, I mean, Arenado is a legitimate middle-of-the-order bat, and that's something that they've been lacking, right? I mean, the only guy that really fit that description last year was Goldie. So, I think the Cardinals' pitching depth is probably what I think will end up giving them the edge, not just the 5 guys that'll make up the rotation on opening day or the 8 guys in the pen, but I think the 5, 6, 7 guys behind those guys, Bill, are all really good, and they're all major league caliber guys. It's just a matter of, figuring out how you're going to be able to put them all to use.
Well, that was going to be my next question because you kind of touched on Colton Wong. So I believe we're going to love him defensively. There's no doubt about that, and that's not a huge knock on Keston Hiura, but it's a serious upgrade at the second base position. So tell me more about this guy and why Brewers fans should really kind of fall in love with what Colton Wong has to bring to the table.
I mean, number one, he is a grinder. I mean, it's really hard not to look at his work ethic and see what he does on a day-to-day basis and not want to say, I'm going to root for that guy. I mean, he's got a great personality. I think, Bill, and having watched him, his entire career and going back to watching him when he was in the minor league, he's the best defensive second baseman in the game right now. I mean, there are others that are good and they're close, but he's the best defensive second baseman in the game. And the difference here is he doesn't just make routine plays. He makes the spectacular plays that other guys can't make. And I think that's what makes him special. He also makes the routine plays, but it's way more than that. Now, offensively, what you're going to like about him is that he gets on base. If you look at the last 4 seasons, Bill, early in his career, he was not great getting on base. He didn't have a good time with, mostly because the batting average was lower than you would think it would be. He's got a little pop, but he's not going to be a big home run threat. He's a 10, 12 homer guy. But, these last 4 years, he's basically been 350, 355, 360 on base guy. He's pretty consistent in that. And, I think that combine that with the fact that he's not a big strikeout guy either, he does bring some positive elements to the offense, and he'll swipe a bag for you too.
So now you look at the team, the way it sits, you get Arenado in there. Goldschmidt started to hit last year after getting off to somewhat of a slow start. But you still, you got Yadier Molina at 38 and kind of that inspirational leader in the clubhouse. You got a pretty good rotation, provided that age doesn't catch up with Wainwright and injuries don't catch up. But talk about the overall aspect of this team. With the first of all, we'll start with the lineup top to bottom because I would assume it's Edman, DeJong, and Goldschmidt and Arenado right in there, and after that you kind of fill it in, right?
Yeah, I think we're still trying to figure out the order that they're going to go, but I think you got the right guys. I think if you're looking at the top 5, it'll be some order of Edman and DeJong and Dylan Carlson, Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado. I think the wild card in it is Carlson, right? I mean, he was hitting 4th at the end of last season and in the postseason. He had a really strong stretch the final 2.5, 3 weeks of the year. And, he's an on-base guy who's got power. I really think Dylan Carlson is the real deal. Now, I don't think he's like a star right now. I don't think he's going to go out there and make the all-star team or anything like that. But him as a hitter right now, to me, reminds me of Christian Yelich, the Marlin. Not the guy you guys have.
Right.
Not the 40-homer guy, not that guy. But the guy that, hit for a good average, good on base, 18, 20 home runs, that he reminds me a little bit of the young Yelich that we saw when he was with the Marlins. I think that's the kind of guy. So if he's that and he's able to hit in the top 2 spots, Bill, I think that's going to be good because he's an on-base guy with some power, and that would help with Goldie and Arenado having some opportunities to drive guys in, and that would allow DeJong to hit in the number 5 spot where, he's not going to be a big batting average guy. He won't win a title, but he'll hit 25, 30 homers for you. I do think what they're trying to figure out, and I think what is important for this team, is to find one more guy, whether it's Harrison Bader, whether it's Tyler O'Neill, maybe one of the other outfielders that's going to compete with those 2 guys, Justin Thomas Justin Williams and Lane Thomas. Mix the 2 guys up. They need one more bat, I think, to be a truly good offensive team. They're better than they were last year, but they're a pitching and defense team first, Bill. I mean, they're going to be, I would think, one of the 2 or 3 best defensive teams in baseball. And I would be shocked if they're not one of the 2 or 3 top pitching staffs in the National League.
With Molina getting up there in years, do they begin kind of the NBA version of load management with him?
Maybe. I mean, here's the thing is that Yachty is in better shape now than he was 8 years ago. Right? He takes his conditioning so seriously. He runs incessantly during the off season. He's in he is arguably in better shape than he was when he was probably in his early 30s, late 20s, early 30s. But you're right. I mean, at some point you do have to weigh, is it better for him to play 120 games than it is for him to play 135 games? Better for him. maybe you get more offense out of him if he gets a little bit more rest, for example. The good thing is they've got some young catching that are really good players. Man, Andrew Kisner is the guy that can really hit as a catcher. Defensively, he's solid, but he's not Molina. He's not close to Molina defensively. But he's got some offensive capability. And John Mozeliak actually talked a bit about this last week. Actually, it might have been earlier this week. It was either late last week, early this week, that, they are going to have to start planning for life without Yadi. And a guy like Kisner, who is a young catching prospect, or a guy that's a little further off in Ivan Herrera, who's starting to show up in some top 100 prospects lists, they've got a pretty good line, of catchers going on there. But I think that's one of the interesting questions this year, Bill, is whether Molina's going to get the free reign to play essentially all the time when he's feeling good, or if they are going to build in some more time for a guy like Kisner to maybe add a little offense, but also, again, to give Molina a little bit more rest as he gets closer to 40 years old.
Talking with Kevin Wheeler down in St. Louis, giving us a lowdown on the St. Louis Cardinals. Herrera, correct me if I'm wrong, is he in AA or AAA now?
Well, he was, I believe he reached AA at the end of 19, but not, he was a young guy. He was 19 or 20 at the end of 2019. So he's probably going to start at AA this year would be my guess.
Okay, yeah, I was just reading something about him.
If he starts off well, he'll be at AAA pretty quickly, I would think.
We talked a little bit about the pitching staff, a little bit older with Wainwright, obviously. Mikolas, now he's now, 32, going to be 33. Kim is 32, going to be 33. So you've got what they call veteran arms, but how good is the rotation?
Well, I think it's really good in the sum total. Now, there are legit questions, right? I mean, I think the one guy that comes without real questions is Jack Flaherty. He's the guy he's comparable to Woodruff and Burns. I mean, just very gifted guy, very young, but guy that's going to have a chance to compete for Cy Youngs for a long time. He's very gifted. He'll be the opening day starter. Kim, and you mentioned Kim and Mikolas and Wainwright. The questions about Kim is simple. He was great for 2 months last year, but we still haven't seen him for a full season, right? So, I mean, there's one question mark, although he has such a good arsenal, Bill. I mean, he throws 4 pitches for strikes. He's not overpowering by any means. He's not a big strikeout guy, but he knows how to pitch. And because he has all those weapons, he seems to adapt pretty well, seeing teams second time, third time in a season, and second time, even third time through the order. Mikolas is a question just because of health, right? I mean, he had arm surgery last year and missed the whole season. So anytime you're coming off of that, there's a question, but he's on a normal schedule here in the beginning. He's not in any way being held back at the beginning of spring training. So if he's good, I think you know what you've got there. That's an innings eater that's gonna keep you in games. And again, not a big strikeout guy, but pitch to contact. Waino was interesting because he was so good last year. He was like vintage Wainwright last year, but he's 39. So that's just the age is the question, not even performance, just age. And then you've got Carlos Martinez. We have no idea what to expect from Carlos. I mean, if he finds a way to stay healthy and throw strikes, I mean, this is a guy that a few years ago was one of the 10, 12 best starters in the National League, but we haven't seen that for a while. So we don't know there exactly what we're going to get. But you also have Alex Reyes, who's worked out of the pen, who's going to come into spring with a chance to start. And, he throws 100 miles an hour with a high spin rate curveball. And, they've got a few other guys. The young guy that a lot of people are raving about from last year is Johan Oviedo. I don't know if you saw him, Bill, but 6'5", 255 pounds, throws mid to upper 90s. Mm-hmm. They've got a list of guys, Daniel Ponce de Leon too. They've got a list of guys that could start this year that goes about 8, 9, 10 deep. And that's not even discussing their top 100 prospect in Matthew Liberatore, who probably isn't going to be a big factor this year.
Real quick before I let you go, did I read correctly 25 to 35% in Busch Stadium?
That's what it sounds like. Yeah, I mean, there are other events, like restaurants are open in St. Louis, in the city of St. Louis. There have been some events at Ballpark Village, which is right across the street from Busch Stadium. So sounds like, I don't think we have an official announcement on that, but I think that 25% range is what we're expecting.
Great stuff as always, Kevin. I always appreciate your time, pal, and we'll have you on as the season gets underway, or at least gets closer, okay?
Sounds like a plan, man. Enjoy the spring.
Absolutely, pal. Talk to you soon. There you go. That's our buddy Kevin Wheeler, and like I said before, I mean, the man's resume is deep, to say the very least. Everything from KMOX, he was at MLB Network Radio, Mad Dog Sports, All-Star St. Louis. I mean, you just go through the list. He's got so much going on. Good stuff to get the lowdown on the Cardinals, because the Cardinals are going to be, by many accounts, the team to beat in the National League Central. So good to talk a little bit about that as well. Stay tuned. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Mike in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
And glad to have you. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. That's the number to hit us up. You can also track us down in many different facets over on Twitter at Bill_Michaels. At Bill_Michaels. Michaels. Same on YouTube. Just simply Bill Michaels on YouTube. Bill Michaels on Twitch, and which is the live stream app. You can watch the show on the live stream Facebook fan page. Go to facebook.com/The Bill Michaels Show as well. And thanks. This is it. Life is opening back up. I'll tell you why. Because in Boston, coming out of WBZ, dance floors are now open at weddings and events only. But dance floors are now allowed back open in Boston. The grip of the corona is starting to ease. I make fun of it only for the fact that I think it's funny that you can dance on dance floors at a wedding, but you do it at a bar and you're committing a crime. Can't do that. It is what it is. There you go. Dance floors now opening in Boston. Get your jiggy on. Yes, liking it. Liking it a lot. I think it's kind of nuts, but you know what? I think, and I'm not going to try to misspeak here. Kinger, you're right. Pants off, dance off, baby. I'm wearing shorts today, but, same thing. I get it. We have seen the numbers drop dramatically from where they were, say, a month and a half, 2 months ago. So, which is great. We're seeing hundreds of thousands, if not millions, now being vaccinated. There's another vaccine on the market. So hopefully this is on a speedy recovery to getting back to a sense of normalcy. 25 to 35% in ballparks. You're seeing, obviously, fans in the stands at Fiserv Forum. We saw fans in the stands at football before the season came to an end. So I think I was thinking it was going to be another year before we'd be back to a sense of normalcy. And it's going to be another year before, like, spring training and such. We see, full stands and press boxes and such, and we'll be back again next year. But I think it's great that that we're getting back to that another step towards normalcy, if you will. Not that I put a lot of stock into whether or not you can dance on the dance floor at a wedding in Boston, but at least you're seeing some things open up. It's good. Russell Wilson has not demanded a trade. That's coming from his agent. Russell Wilson has not. It was reported that he was demanding a trade. Wilson has told the Seahawks he wants to play in Seattle. But if a trade were considered, the only teams he would go to are the Cowboys, the Saints, the Raiders, or the Bears. Whoa, wait a minute. Or the Bears. Russell Wilson, now he played for Wisconsin for 1 year. Okay, he gets the culture. He understands the rivalry and such. But Russell Wilson, if he were traded, the teams that he would consider are the Cowboys, the Saints, the Raiders, and the Bears. Now, you have to look at it in the sense because people are going crazy, going, he's a Wisconsinite. No, he wasn't. He was here for a year. Played really well, for the Badgers. But he was here for a year. So he is looking at teams right now that probably could use a quarterback. The Cowboys have not reached an agreement with Dak. The Saints are going to be looking for a quarterback after the retirement of Drew Brees. The Raiders, it's, likely and widely thought of it, the Raiders are looking to make a move if you're going to make a trade, and the Bears are looking for a quarterback. So yes, Russell Wilson is looking for teams that he believes has a decent opportunity to be good, and he can help without it because there isn't a quarterback there. That's what he's discussing. So, also Corey Linsley is expecting not to be a Green Bay Packer. Just an FYI. expecting NFL trade rumors. He says we're not closing the door for anything. Obviously, we never do that for any team, especially the Packers. But, yeah, it definitely feels weird. It looks like all signs are pointing towards snapping the ball somewhere else next year. Our buddy Bill Huber from SI reported they still have not had contract discussions with the Packers ahead of free agency. Lindsley previously said that the team had not had any talks with him during the regular season. Said my agent hasn't had any talks with the Packers. It was just after the NFC Championship game. That's obviously not to say something couldn't happen, but up to this point, it's kind of been complimentary, but nothing of substance. We'll move forward with that. It is what it is. I feel like personally I had a good year. Obviously didn't get to the goal that we wanted as a team, but I feel like I put out some good film. Hopefully a team values that, and we'll move into free agency with that in mind. So there you go. Corey Lindsley kind of feeling that, yeah, not going to happen. Not going to happen. So there you have it. Jeff says, plans for an affiliate radio station in Minocqua, the Tomahawk area. We had one in Tomahawk, and is that JJQ? Call over there. Ask for Greg. Say, hey, Greg, bring it. Bring it. Bring the Bill Michaels show back. Call over and ask Greg. Greg's the owner of the station, the GM of the station. So give him a call over there. I'd love to come back to the Tomahawk area, not just on the radio, but just in general. I'll be back up there this year. It's an anniversary year for the Tomahawk Fall Ride. So you better believe I want to come back there. Whew. Love that place. Love the Northwoods. Absolutely awesome. Let's step away, take a quick break. More to come next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to the program. The Bill Michaels Show continues on Dog Cam making the appearance. Yeah, that's Elmo laying down. He just came up from downstairs. He had some peanut butter. Had to go get a drink. So for those that always say, where's the dog at? There you go. Dog Cam. Got Dog Cam now. Got to get Dog Cam sponsored by like Pet Supplies Plus or something like that. Not Bud Light. Can't get your dog hammered. Come on. Can't do that. Welcome back to the program. Oh, man, oh, man, oh, man. Glad to have you. Thanks for joining us. 877-867-1670. Again, 877-867-1670. Russell Wilson, going back to that conversation, stormed out of a meeting. Apparently, Russell Wilson's deteriorating relationship with the Seahawks has been one of the more surprising developments that has been uncovered this offseason. However, while the general NFL public may be learning about Wilson's irritations with the organization for the first time over the past few weeks, this has reportedly been something that has been festering for a while. There's an article in The Athletic chronicling the steps that have led to this fractured relationship between the two sides. The Athletic also reports that representatives for Wilson, who have broached the idea of a potential trade with the Seahawks front office, as these frustrations continue. The story backs up, though, when CBS, the insider Jason LaCanfora reported that the Raiders, the Dolphins, the New Orleans Saints, the New York Jets, all potential landing spots. But apparently we found out today that it's been it's been the Cowboys, the Saints, the Raiders, and the Bears. So there's the Let Russ Cook movement that's out there. Wilson was pushing to be a more, focal point of the Seattle offense. The quarterback did come out gangbusters to begin the season, but then it kind of just, fizzled from there. Before Thursday night's game against Arizona, Wilson met with his coaches. For some time, Wilson has sought, even pushed for, influence with the organization regarding scheme and personnel. He outlined his own ideas how to fix the offense. The suggestions were then dismissed. He got upset. Seattle able to win the game and eventually reach the playoffs, but bounced during the Super Wildcard weekend at the hands of the Rams. The offense just not very good. Those issues on offense and Seattle's unwillingness to listen to their franchise cornerstone led to the offseason where Wilson went public in his attempt to gain more say with the organization. That reportedly has not been well received by the Seahawks, which you wouldn't expect it to be. When you take it public like that, according to a recent report from the NFL Network, around a third of the league has already called on Wilson and started, kind of the starting price. It could sit at about 3 first-round draft choices. And given what we're learning about what has gone on behind the scenes in Seattle, it does beg the question if this relationship if it can be repaired. And if they can't, that would be a gigantic blockbuster of a deal about to make waves throughout the rest of the league. But one of the areas that he has stated, or at least reportedly has stated, is that he would accept a trade to the Cowboys, the Saints, the Raiders, and the Bears. Can you imagine if the Bears got Russell Wilson? Now, I don't know what they would have to give up. But can you imagine if they got Russell Wilson at 32 years old in his prime? That would be a game changer in the NFC North. Just saying. Just saying. Let's go back to the phone calls. Daniel, listening to us in Toma. Daniel, how you doing today, man? What's going on?
How you doing? I've been trying to get through. All right. I want to say I'm inviting you to the Hooters. It's in Hustler for the fish fry. They have the best fish fry. We go around different places.
Okay.
That I found. Number 2, I'd like to come to see the bowling alley for Zones and Toma, and then I'll buy you a pork chop dinner, which they got an excellent pork chop dinner.
I'll do that.
The other night I bought a 723, which is a 241 average.
You the man.
I mean, I was the one that went to surgery. Remember that?
Yeah.
They still ain't figured out why I'm bleeding, but I still bowled everybody that day, besides one.
Damn.
And number 3 is I just want to know if you ever come over there. I mean, you're one of the best sports person I've listened to for years. I don't know if you remember me.
No, I do. I appreciate it. Yeah, I get over.
I got a tattoo of the Green Bay Packers on my arm, and I know a lot about Packers, and not just current. But I was just wondering if you would come over for the fish fry, and then I'll buy you a pork chop dinner, and I'll buy you a fish fry.
There we go. I am going to try to get into the Tomah. I appreciate the phone call as always, man. I'm going to try to get into the Tomah area at some point this year for sure. But I will try to get into that area. You bet. Love the Tomah area. You bet. Over there by Fort McCoy. You kidding me? My son was actually at Fort McCoy for a while when he was going through the police training, and he does some stuff there as well for the National Guard. So one of the places that I've been in the Tomah area is over there at the Winnebago Park, believe it or not. Had a bit of a gathering there last year, before my son ended up going to work for the State Patrol. But yeah, was over in that area. Like it. As a matter of fact, right off the highway there, I stopped at the Walmart at one point because I had forgotten shaving cream when I was doing one of my travels. That's when I was heading up through the Black River Falls area as I was heading up to Eau Claire. So yeah, I stopped in Tomah. I've stopped there before too. You know what? I've stopped there before when you're on your way to La Crosse. So I've stopped in Tomah as well. So I've been there numerous times. It's kind of Tomah is, for lack of a better term, in the crotch of highway distribution in that area, because you can take 90, which takes you down into the La Crosse area. Okay. And then when you hit 90, man, you're on your way, because 90, you know where 90 takes you. If you're a motorcyclist, you do 90, bam, Sturgis. How are we looking? Not that you're going to go to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, but you get into the Sturgis area. How are we looking? Loving it. But if you take 94 takes you up to Eau Claire. And then Eau Claire sits kind of in the crotch right there, because Eau Claire, you can take 94 and keep on trucking, and it'll take you into Minneapolis, St. Paul. But there's a little area called Woodbury. And Woodbury, I don't even go all the way into Minneapolis, St. Paul. I go into Woodbury. You know why? Zantigos. Oh, love Zantigos. Zantigos I had when I was a kid. Great Mexican restaurant. Or you take 53 and you head north, and then when you head north, you end up there at Rice Lake. That's one of our great affiliates. Tom Kozer and the whole crew up there are fantastic people, but they've got the Rice Lake Celebrity Golf Classic, which I believe is back this year. And I'm looking forward to that. So, yeah. I mean, once you get through the Chippewa Falls area, Chippewa Falls is just so beautiful, you know. I know that's liney country up there. Dick and Jake and those guys, they're fantastic. Had a couple of great cigar dinners up there. I love Chippewa Falls. Loopy's High Shore Supper Club. I don't even think Loopy's is Loopy's anymore. I think he sold it, which is depressing. But I got to get my boat up in that area as well. Hang in there. We're rounding third, heading for home. Final hour of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Well, former Wisconsin star J.J. Watt has received numerous contract offers from teams trying to sign the defensive end since he was cut by the Texans earlier this month. That, according to ESPN, they say the best of the offers, $15 to $16 million per year, a figure that is likely way out of the Packers' price range. Green Bay has been considered among the favorites to land the three-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year due to his ties to the state. Buffalo, Tennessee, and a host of other teams also considered potential landing spots. Turning to the Brewers, they're continuing to go through workouts down at spring training. That includes center fielder Lorenzo Cain. He's back after opting out of last season due to COVID-19 and for family reasons. Taking a season off, especially for a guy like Cain, who's going to turn 35 in April, is tough to come back from, but he's confident he'll be ready.
I'm already putting in the work. I'm already swinging, hitting every day, out there running, catching fly balls. So I think I've looked a lot better than probably people thought I would early on in camp. So it's about continuing to do that, as well as kind of progressing to, live pitching. And that's the biggest thing, just seeing, guys throwing 95 again is going to be the biggest challenge.
Milwaukee's first Cactus League game coming up on Sunday.
Did you know there are laws that protect the health and safety rights of agriculture workers? And if you or a loved one is dealing with coronavirus, your rights may include required details about your job and pay, payment at the proper rate for every hour you work, safe transportation, and safe and clean housing. For more information and free help, call 866-4US-WAGE or visit worker.gov. A message from the U.S. Department of Labor.
Well, the Bucks will look to make it 4 straight wins when they face New Orleans tonight at Fiserv Forum. Tip is at 8:30. And Wisconsin getting ready for its final home game of the season on Saturday against number 5 Illinois. The Illini are at Nebraska tonight. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heilprin.
Looking. Glad to have you. If you want to get a hold of us, 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Hit me up over on Twitter, @Bill_Michaels, @Bill_Michaels. You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/The Bill Michaels Show. I appreciate it if you want to go over there and follow or like. Then there's YouTube. If you follow the live stream on YouTube or on Twitch, simply Bill Michaels, Michaels. Going back from the last hour, Loopy's High Shore Supper Club was sold. I was correct. But it is still open. It's called Wissota High Shore Supper Club over there in Lake Wissota. It's beautiful over there. Really cool. Loopy's Bar is still open, though. But High Shores was a casualty of COVID. Loopy's has an awesome fish fry. Head over there, Tom says. And Kinger says, could go for the Berry Weiss. There you go. Nice. Couple of things that I want to go over. By the way, I want to update you on the poll question you have been following today, and so many people voting on this. Remember, Kyrie Irving is the one that kind of brought this up in honor of Kobe Bryant. He says that the league should change the logo. Should change the logo from Jerry West, the silhouette of Jerry West, to Kobe Bryant. He said, quote, gotta happen. I don't care what anyone says. Black Kings built the league. End quote. The NBA has been the silhouette of Hall of Famer Jerry West since 1969, although the league has never really acknowledged that publicly. It's Jerry West since 1969. And Kyrie Irving wants to see it changed to Kobe Bryant. So that's the reason I posted it. So 3,351 people chiming in. 66.5% say do not change the logo. 33.5% say change the logo. Like I said, what Kyrie Irving is basically saying, it should go from a white guy to a black guy. That's what he's stating, saying Black Kings built the league. If that's the case, then you could look at Bill Russell, Will Chamberlain, Michael Jordan, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Oscar Robertson. There's so many other guys that you could look at rather than just Kobe. If you're looking at Kobe because he was tragically killed, okay, that would be like if I said, well, Bill Belichick died in a car accident. They need to change the Lombardi trophy over to the Belichick trophy. And that would not be well received if you're just basing it on merits. So look, they did a lot to honor Kobe. I think it was tragic what happened. Absolutely. But where we stand right now, 3,351 of you have voted. 66.5% of you have said, nope, leave it the way it is. Leave it the way it is. This one's from Jack. Jack says, hey, Bill, great show today. As always, I'm on JJ Watt jersey watch. My wife went ahead and ordered one in green and gold. Thoughts? Good for your wife. Did she order it for herself or for you? I mean, and then did she get the right size? You have like a defensive lineman. Throwing it out there. Unless, of course, she's got one of those tie-up things that are cut really low and your wife's smoking hot. Well, then good for you, man. I applaud you. Nice. Way to go. Look, I've said before, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I just know that there's a lot of talk, a lot of conjecture. This is the time of year that we are usually hearing a lot about all the rumors and innuendos because it's combine. And they're not doing the combine. It's all virtual stuff this year. So this is when we usually get the general managers meetings and everybody's down there and they're talking and they're hashing out all the different things that they would be doing and rumors and innuendos as to what agents are down there. And you get a chance to talk to all these people. And that's not happening. They're doing it all virtually. So you get some of the sidebar chatter on Zoom. But for the most part, the rumors that are usually hot and heavy this time of year, just not there because we're not getting them. Another casualty of COVID, which if you are following Boston, the governor of Massachusetts has said, hey, we're going to start. We're not going to be, what was the movie Footloose? We're not going to be that town anymore in Footloose that would not allow dancing. We're opening it up. So dance floors at weddings and events are now open. How about that? If that is not a step in the right direction when it comes to overcoming COVID, I don't know what is. The Kinger says, are the Brewers wearing a patch for Hank Aaron this season? And any word if the Braves are going to honor his passing? My assumption would be yes. I have not looked at anything specifically, to be honest with you. I think I did see something, though. I think I saw the 44 with the black patch, white number. I think I saw it, but I don't know where. So I'm going to have to dig into that. Good point, Kinger. Chris says, without Naismith, who was Caucasian, there would not be the NBA or basketball to begin with. You are correct. Dropping a little history on us. Chris, I appreciate it. Another one about Loopy's. Loopy's is open. It's just called with soda. I'm glad. I'm glad that they're there. Great stuff. Email inbox. This one is from Jeff. Jeff writes, hey, Bill, love the program. Glad you are back. By the way, he's listening on the stream in Green Bay. He says a lot of talk here about the Packers franchising one of the two, whether it's Aaron Jones or Corey Linsley. Which one would you do? What do you think they're leaning towards? I don't think they're leaning towards any. That's just me. Now, if you're hearing a rumor up there, whether it's at the Taco Bell or the grocery store or Buffalo Wild Wings, or you're going over to Stadium View or wherever it happens to be over there, or the Chop House downtown, or, God, I got to get back up to Prohibition. I haven't seen that place in a while. I want to get up there and have a cigar. But you would probably do Aaron Jones. So just my opinion, because Aaron Jones is going to cost you less. You're going to get a high end of productivity, at least you believe so. And the money is less. It's like $8.5 million as opposed to 10 or 11. So if you're going to franchise tag one of the two, most likely it's going to be Aaron Jones. Wade says, I was at a wedding 2 weeks ago in Sparta. The dance floor was thriving. Sparta didn't even have COVID, did it? Just saying. Don't think Sparta had it. There's some areas in the state. I was just talking to a friend of mine. I was downtown a couple of nights ago on Tuesday night. I was downtown. I was at Stenny's. And that is masks, walking to and from, walking in, talking to your server, things like that. Out in Madison, you'd think that COVID is running rampant. I've seen people out there with 2 masks on. Yeah, I'm not kidding. So you'd think that Corona just hit and COVID is running rampant, and there's bodies in the streets like back in the old country during the plague, when they were just scooping them up, putting them in wheelbarrows, and throwing them away. So it was locked down out in Madison yesterday. I live in Waukesha, and Waukesha is, you're going into the Home Depot, going into Menards, going into Woodman's for grocery shopping. Yeah, you know what? You're wearing a mask. You get into the gym, you get in, you take it off. You got it. It's hard to breathe when you're doing cardio with a mask on. It just is. After a few reps, all of a sudden you find yourself gasping a little bit harder. And when you take the mask off, you're like, oh, I can breathe. So that's a little more difficult. But some of the bars, once you're in the bars, some bars make it, mandatory. Some bars don't. It's up to each individual. And I never go against the owners because they have a business to run, and I respect that. So, is what it is. Eric says, not that you would, but you could franchise Aaron Jones, then trade him to a team like Miami for a high draft choice. And that way we don't lose AJ for nothing. You are correct. You could franchise him, trade him away, pick up a draft choice. If a team out there really is eyeballing him, 100% correct. Not that you want to do that because then you get a reputation for that. You don't want, it really does kind of piss off the players. And you have to work with these guys and these agents down the road. So you don't want to do that. You know what I mean? If you don't have to. Kelly says, why are we taking the word of Kyrie Irving? Consider the source. He's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. No, I only brought it up because I read the story in the Washington Post this morning. And then I looked and sure enough, it was in USA Today. It was in ESPN. I mean, there's a lot of publications that had it. That's the only reason I brought it up. I wanted to see if it was getting any traction at all. But looking at our poll question, which is now well over 3,300, almost 3,400 votes, the answer is no. People don't want to see that thing changed. Overwhelmingly. It's not like it's 50-50 or, even 60-40. It's 66.5% of you say no, you don't want to see it change. 33.5% say yes. So there's some traction there, but a small amount. It's very much a minority, so to speak. What else do we have here? We've got a lot of stuff to clean up today. A lot of stuff to clean up. Hey, Unit. You were talking about the romance of baseball and Bob Uecker. What other broadcasters did you listen to that you could correlate Uecker's stories to those others? The days of romancing us through the radio has gone dead. Well, I had mentioned a couple of them. I used to listen to, Jack Buck years ago. I could pick him up on KMOX. I grew up with, I was lucky because I grew up with the majority of my youth, Marty Brennaman. And before that, it was Al Michaels. Al Michaels did a couple of seasons for Reds baseball. And to this day, if you ask Al Michaels, he regrets leaving because that's when the Big Red Machine became prevalent and he would have ended up with a ring as a broadcaster. So Al Michaels, and I did an interview with him, I don't know how many years ago it was, 3-4 Super Bowls ago. And I sat down and talked with Al Michaels. I might even still have that interview, but I was talking to him about that. And he had stated that, talking about handing a job over to somebody, Marty Brennaman just, kind of got that job and ran with it. And then Marty was there 30 plus years. But I equate Marty Brennaman, Jack Buck, even Harry Carey, although Harry Carey was television, but Harry Carey, Bob Uecker, all in that same level of excellence because they were able to take the game and make it something more. It was a 2.5 hour, 3 hour story. It was entertainment. It wasn't just the game, and you still wanted your team to win. You were still rooting for your team. And growing up as a kid, I had a good team to root for. So I would, I was very lucky in that sense. I saw a championship in 75 and 76. I saw that team win it again. 75, 76, I saw them win it again, and they went wire to wire in 1990. That was the Jose Rio year when they ended up sweeping the team that everybody thought was so incredibly dominant. That was Tony La Russa's Oakland A's. But, Marty had a way of him and Joe Nuxall. They talked about growing tomatoes. They talked about their golf game. They talked about their wives. You knew everything about them throughout the broadcast of a game. And the most beautiful thing of all was they were honest. If that play sucked or that player's having a crap year, you knew that play sucked and that player was having a crap year. There was no sugarcoating it. They were a fan just like you and I. So that was the beauty of it. Uke is not as critical, although nobody's firing Bob Uecker. So Uecker could be critical, but as a former player, he doesn't come down on guys the way you and I do. But it is what it is. But it's that you're right. So Brenneman, Uecker, Jack Buck, Vin Scully. Although I didn't get a chance to really listen to Vin Scully very often, you'd catch him more on television than you would on radio. But, in today's day and age, you can go back and listen to some of those games. You can listen to his calls on the stream, before he retires or before he retired. So in that sense, I got a chance to listen to Vin Scully, who just his recollection, his stories, his detail of the game, just incredible. Harry Carey was he was a character. I mean, you would just tune into the Harry Carey hour, because as the game went along, the more Budweisers he had, and he just became hilarious. So, I think that particular era of broadcaster, you're very lucky. And I agree that a lot of them today, it's kind of cookie cutter. There's times where you can't even tell who's who because the voices sound the same. It's like they went to this voice clinic. Everybody became somewhat robotic, and they said, okay, you two, come with us. And you're interchangeable, so we can get rid of either one of you at any time because nobody will miss you because the voice sounds the same. So we'll just, throw you out the door. Here you go. Eric says, funny if you mentioned about announcers coming down on players. If you did that today, I'm sure many would complain. You got to be honest. Even when I worked on the Packers radio network, let me do this. I'm late for a break. I'll tell you the story when I come back, but I'll tell you one thing. A conversation I had when I first came to town, I had it with Bob Harlan. I'll tell you about that coming up next on the Bill Michaels Show.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Back to the program, the Bill Michaels Show. We are on the air, and for those of you that asked for it, you got it during the break. If you're watching on the stream, Dog Cam has arrived. I don't know why. People ask for the craziest things. You know what? I'm only here as a servant of the people. That's what I do. I am trying to appease the masses, and I had more than a few people that said, "Where's Elmo? Where's Mickey?" And so Dog Cam has been invented. It is from up above in the ceiling area of the room, and Dog Cam is up and running. Elmo is the only one up here right now. Mickey is downstairs. He was barking, I believe, at the mailman coming by, but Elmo, there he is. There he is, just kind of hanging out. He's watching ESPN. I think it's the Jump that's on right now. So he's down there kind of watching that, hanging out, panting a little bit. He is 14 and a half, for God's sakes. So nope, it's Jalen and Jacoby. That's the ESPN show that's he's paying attention to. So anyway. So going back, before we went to break, I said that when we were talking about broadcasters, there is an honesty you have to have. If you're going to carry credibility with a fan base, you have to have a certain level of honesty. And the Packers now are different than they were. Okay, with Ron Wolf and Bob Harlan, it was different. Personally, I have never, ever, ever had an issue with Mark Murphy, ever. I have, however, had an issue at times with things that have been said, and those from inside the walls of 1265 have let it be known. But years ago, I got there. I arrived in 1999, and I went up to Green Bay in July. Late July. Training camp had not started yet. We were a few days away from full training camp, but it was starting to become a buzz. And I went up, and I was, going to be shown the lay of the land, and so it was Ron Wolf and greeted me, and I talked to him for a little bit, and then Bob Harlan had come out, and I told the story. Bob walked me outside and showed me around a little bit. It was just the kindest person ever. And so as I'm talking to Bob, and I'm talking about radio and philosophy, we're just talking about the team itself and such. And I flat out asked him, I said, how are you about, critique and criticism and stuff? And Bob said, I'll never tell you what to say. Everybody's got an opinion. Everybody has a right to their opinion. He was the most understanding person there was. And Bob, Bob gets a lot of credit because this, if you were ever a Packers fan and you called the Packers and said, I wanted to talk to Bob Harlan, if he was in the office, he answered the phone. I mean, that's just how cool it was. Okay. So we were sitting outside, I believe, in the bowl at the time. And so we're talking about, philosophy and about critique and criticism. And Bob said, I will never call you, or chastise or whatever for an opinion. And Bob's only request was that it was respectful. And depending on the level of interest, if it was predicated to more on the field than off the field. Now obviously what he was basically stating was, hey, don't follow them around and get into their personal life and start critiquing them. And I assured him, I said, look, I never will. As a matter of fact, there were times where I would know things about players because we'd see it, and you know what the town is like, what the fan base is like. But as my broadcast grew, as I don't want to call it my stature because it sounds like I'm being an egotistical ass, and I don't want to do that. But as I got a little more well-known, I got a few calls from, guys would go off to parts of the country unknown, and I had friends in other markets, and they would say, hey, your guy's here. This is what's going on. So to me, if it doesn't affect the play on the field, I don't care. That's their personal life. Whatever they do, they do. But if it's detrimental or could affect their play on the field, there's a couple of times where I've picked up the phone and I called. Back then it was Jeff Blum, the Packers PR director. And I called and said, hey, Jeff, look, this doesn't affect me and I really don't care other than to let you know what's going on in case you don't. And they appreciate that. You know what? It's just for the fact that they can't watch their guys at all times. And let's be honest. I mean, we're talking about anywhere from 21 to 28-year-olds that are running around with millions of dollars. And, usually the veterans you didn't have to worry about too much. But some of the younger guys you did, as they started to feel it. So you'd hear stuff. And so you'd call up and say, hey, just an FYI, I just heard this. And I really don't care to get into it, but I wanted to let you know. And plus it built up some goodwill with the team. But the bottom line is I never, ever, and I was pretty outspoken on some of the post-game shows. I never, ever was told what to say. Ever. The only team that ever came to me and told me what to say, or more so what not to say, was the Brewers. That was it. And it was one thing. It was, I got it. It was, and here's the other thing. There's ways to talk about something without actually bringing it up. One of the things that was brought up was, I remember Corey Hart was in a terrible, terrible, terrible slump. And he was going to be our post-game guest up at Friday's Front Row Sports Grill. And when they got up there, hey, if you could stay away from the extended slump, I mean, he knows about it. He's heard about it. I talked about it on the air. It's no problem, But what I did was, and Corey had a home run that night. He had a game-winning RBI and had a home run that night. So I said, hey, Corey, nice hits, boy, you got to feel good. So I'm talking about where he was by saying you got to feel good about your at-bats tonight. And then he went into, I've been slumping. I was 0 for 25, and I've been struggling here. And, these pitches down and away. And I was, went through a couple of things. And he went through the whole process of how he went from point A to point B, and point A being in the slump to getting out of it, to feeling better about himself. So there's things you don't have to bring up, but you can ask a question without asking the question. So I've never been told what to say. So when you go back to would that fly in today's day and age? No, because teams will come and tell you, you're not saying that. You're not going to talk about it. I don't want to hear it again. And then you have to avoid it. And that erodes your credibility with fan bases, because let's just say your team is 1 for 19 and their team batting average is 210. They're not scoring runs, and they don't want you to talk about the losing streak, or they don't want you to talk about the losing. And they don't want you to talk about how far you are out in the division or something like that. Okay, let's just kind of keep it to the baseball vernacular. What the hell are you going to talk about? If you're talking about how great things are, hey, this guy's been hitting the cover off the ball as of late. This guy has not had an error, not committed an error in the last 19 games. Well, you're blowing smoke up the ass of your listener, because you're telling them all the things that are rosy, but the giant 800,000-pound pink elephant in the room behind you is the fact that they're 1 for 19. They suck. So, you can have a couple of bright spots here and there, but you can't live on that. You got to say, hey, there's a giant pink elephant in the room. And by the way, what I'm witnessing is the same thing you are witnessing. And we want our team to win. We're rooting for this team to win, get on a winning streak. Hey, let's go. Here we go. Let's get positive. But the bottom line is they're 1 for 19. And they're sucking swamp water right now, and you're looking for something to maybe turn it all around. Hey, they get a win today. Let's make it 2 tomorrow. Get on that game. Get on that 2-game win streak. Let's win the next, 3 out of 5. Let's do that. I get that. That's where Euchre's so good, because Euchre brings up the positive and says, okay, here we go now. I mean, how many times you heard that? Here we go now, guys. Get a couple of runs. All right, here we go. Here at the bottom of the 5th, it's the Cardinals 41 and the Brewers 3. We're on a roll now, though. Back after this. Well, okay. He stays positive. I like that. But you can't ignore the 800-pound pink elephant in the room. So there you go. Just thought I'd throw it out there. Let's do this. We'll step away. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. More of the Bill Michaels Show is next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Hard to find.
the whole time that he was having that incredible season, Travis Shaw was dealing with his daughter who was, newly born, and she had the issue, and he was basically going for the ballpark over to Children's Hospital and living there, so there's a lot of things on both sides you can look at and say, well, what's going to derail this team, but what also could propel this team? I mean, Travis Shaw could be like that X factor in all of this, So, I mean, I know they were projecting that, he hits 228. They're projecting Christian Yelich this year hits 275. That's a little low. 275 with 35 home runs. Colton Wong give you 10 to 15 home runs. That'd be solid. Lorenzo Cain, 10 to 15 home runs. That'd be solid. But if Lorenzo Cain could come back and maybe give you a slugging percentage of close to 400 and an on-base percentage of, about 340 to 350, that's solid right there, man. I'll take that. Take that right now. Good year. Let's go to the phone calls. Talk to Andy, listening to us in Tomahawk. Andy, what's going on, man? Andy, you there? Once, twice. Andy gone. Andy, you had a shot too, man. I don't know what happened, but had a shot. Eric says 275 and 35 home runs does not work for a guy making that type of money. Talking about Christian Yelich. Again, that's what the projection is. But I think he gives you more than that. What are they projecting? Orlando Arcia is projected to hit 251. If that's the case, I'll take that in a heartbeat. So this is the projections through Fangraphs. Fangraphs says you're going to get Colton Wong leading off, hitting 262, 390 slugging percentage, 15 stolen bases, 10 home runs. Lorenzo Cain, 270, 385 slugging percentage, on-base percentage of 343, 11 dingers, 17 stolen bases. Christian Yelich, 275, 524 slugging percentage, 382 on-base percentage, 35 home runs, 19 stolen bases. Get this, though. Keston Hiura, 250 batting average, 465 slugging percentage, 320 on-base percentage, 12 stolen bases, 29 home runs. I'll take that every damn day of the week out of Keston Hiura. I'd like to see the average get a little bit higher, but I'll take that every damn day of the week. Omar Narvaez, 0 stolen bases, obviously. 9 dingers, 242 batting average, not good. Slugging percentage 389, on base percentage 334, giving you just under 300 plate appearances. Then you got Avisail Garcia, 262, 323 on base percentage, 425 slugging, 19 home runs, 7 stolen bases. Travis Shaw, 228, 16 dingers, 2 stolen bases, on base percentage of 323, and 432 slugging percentage. Orlando Arcia, I just mentioned, 251, 308, 391, 7 stolen bases, 13 home runs. That's what they're projecting. So if you can get, let's just say Christian Yelich gives you 10 points, 5 to 10 points better, 280, 285. I still think the power numbers are going to be about the same. It's because I think the dead ball era is upon us. You know? Keston Hiura the same. I don't think he hits that many home runs. But if Yelich gives you 5, 10 points more, Keston Hiura hits about that, maybe a little bit more, I'd be happy. Narvaez, I'd like to see him hit 250 or better. Travis Shaw, if Travis Shaw hits 245, 250, I think his on-base percentage goes from 323 maybe up to like 340, 342, something like that. A few more runs scored, maybe 10 to 15 home runs tops, something like that. That's not a bad season overall for your team. It's not. That's a pretty good season. Wouldn't you take that? I think we all would, right? John says, how can you hit 275 with 35 home runs? Sounds like BS to me. Well, you could do that. Power hitters can do that. You know? Kinger says, well, let's be realistic. I'd love to see the Badgers win out, too. There you go. So, yeah, I was listening. There's a lot of rumors out there about Lorenzo Cain, Josh Hader, some of the rumors that are flying around out there about the possible trades. There's a lot of things flying around out there. And I don't – right now it is what it is, and the Brewers are looking anyway like a pretty good team unless you're going to upgrade dramatically. I don't see this team unless you get a haul in return. A haul in return. I don't see this team cutting their nose off to spite their face before the season gets underway. Because Josh Hader is going to be a key part of this team before it's all said and done. He just is. So I don't see them doing that. What else do we have here for you? Oh, I got a couple of things. Let's do this. We'll wrap it up when we come back. Stay tuned. We'll go to Dog Cam. Dog Cam coming up. Elmo's looking right at me. We'll go to Dog Cam, and we'll take a quick break. If you're following us on the stream, you know what I'm talking about. Here we go. How we looking? There it is. Bam. Dog Cam. More right after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Glad to have you. It appears that Tom Brady, first of all, let me say this. There has been word a little while ago from J.J. Watt, who tweeted out this philosophical tweet that I'm sure many have run with. I'm just going to take it for what it is. He says, quote, midday naps, loathed as a child, revered in adulthood. Remember when he tweeted out the other day, mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell? And people were kind of trying to twist that into something as if it meant, well, you know, it's mitochondria it looked like a bean. And, you know, would you go to Beantown? The bean is in Buffalo. He's going to Buffalo. And then mitochondria, something about whoever discovered the mitochondria was some kind of a Swiss scientist, and therefore it was Swiss with cheese. And he's going to the Packers, the cheesehead. Oh, okay. It's like, God, just stop. Just stop. So today he tweeted that out, and everybody's trying to figure something out by it. Whatever. So Tom Brady, speaking of greatness, Tom Brady apparently, remember when he was asked, well, why did you go to Tampa Bay? And he just said, quote, it's intriguing. Okay, that was about the extent of it. He didn't get much deeper into it than that. Well, according to USA Today, and a story that was just written, and one of his former assistant coaches who was on a national radio show kind of spilled the beans, or it gave us another insight, okay? Tom Brady's still competing with none other than Peyton Manning. Buccaneers quarterback coach Clyde Christensen said that he said one of the things that looked really fun, meaning Tom Brady, and challenging to him is what Peyton did in Denver. There was something different about the challenge that hit Brady right. Hey, I'm going to go see if I can do this again somewhere else. Specifically, the challenge was being the starting quarterback for 2 Super Bowl winning franchises. Now, Manning obviously did it in Indianapolis, and then the last year of his career, they won it in Denver. Okay, 9 years after he had brought the Lombardi Trophy to Indianapolis. Prior to that, only Craig Morton, he was with the Cowboys and the Broncos, and Kurt Warner of the Rams and the Cardinals had started for different teams in the Super Bowl. Christensen knows Manning well, spent 10 seasons with him as an assistant in Indianapolis, including as an offensive coordinator in 2010. He said, I do think that the challenge that was huge for him. Talking about Brady. 21 years, which is Brady's career, is a long time, and sometimes there's time for a change. He mentioned several times that he was impressed with it, with what Peyton Manning did, and it looked like a fun challenge to him. Brady now has 7 Super Bowl rings, which is more than any single franchise has, and 5 more than Peyton Manning. Brady won 11 of 17 of the head-to-head matchups against Manning. However, Manning wound up with a 3-2 edge in playoff meetings by beating Brady in the final 3 postseason showdowns. Now, Manning retired in 2015. He's the all-time leader in passing yards, touchdowns, among other accomplishments, but has since been eclipsed by Brady and Breeze on some of those prestigious lists. Manning does possess an unprecedented 5 league MVP awards, 2 more than Tom Brady. And, of course, the next accomplishment that can distinguish Brady from Manning seems obvious, given he preached to become, the only quarterback ever to lead separate organizations into multiple Super Bowl titles. So there you go. There you have it. Still no head coach to win Super Bowls with different teams, but now quarterbacks have done it. Manning, and obviously now Brady. Now Brady wants to become the only quarterback ever to wear multiple Super Bowls with different teams. So good stuff. A couple minutes before we get out of here. Let's see here. This one from John. John says, anything new on the Jackie Bradley Jr. deal? Nothing. All is quiet on that front as of right now. I think there were some people kicking the tires. We'll wait and see. But we get into games this weekend. Excited. I'm excited for it. Get into games this weekend. Eric says if MLB deadens the ball, it will favor pitching even more so, which makes the Dodgers even more scary. You are correct. But what it does, and I agree with you, Eric, but we talked about this. What it does is it forces hitters, if you're hitting it with everything you got, and if you're a hitter that's going to say hit 10 to 15 home runs, chances are you can probably go from 15 down to 10, down to 11, something like that. If you're a really astute, pretty good power hitter. Otherwise, if you're a power hitter, or not a power hitter, but if you're a home run hitter that's getting 10 to 12 a year, and they're just clearing the fence, you're getting on a 380 shot down the left field line, you're hitting at 383. Chances are those are either going to be long outs at the wall, or you're hitting them off the wall. And so what this is going to do, and what I hope it does, is gets you away as a hitter from the grip it and rip it mentality. Okay? It forces you to hit the opposite way. It forces you to try to hit the gap. Maybe level out your swing. It's not the launch angle anymore, which I believe has become so detrimental to the game itself. So all of that, I feel will make the game better. But this season, now here's my Nostradamus prediction. This season could be ugly because it could be very much a pitcher's game. It could be very much a game of long fly balls, fly ball outs. It could be exciting in the sense that you're going to see a few more of these balls pulled in, guys like Lorenzo Cain going up and over the wall and snagging them and bringing them back. Okay, that defensive aspect of all of this could be very exciting. But when it comes to the power numbers, I think the power numbers are going to go down a slight bit, and games could be boring because players have been so conditioned to believe it's grip it and rip it, and strikeouts are okay. So now we could see grip it and rip it and a lot of long fly ball outs by guys going, what the hell? So, and James, you are 100% correct. Would that then lead back to the steroid era? Well, because guys want to get a little more power in the swing, quicker wrists, that could mean that, yeah, guys are going to look for a little bit of enhancement to get a ball out of the ballpark. So that could happen very much as well. So we'll wait and see. Coming up tomorrow on the program, it is a Friday edition of the Bill Michaels Show. So looking forward to it. As I don't know what we're doing tomorrow. Tomorrow we might just kick open beers. Who knows? I mean, we got good weather. I can't even show it to you because it's so funky. You can't even see real well out of the back door. But well, you know what? Maybe we'll put backdoor cam up tomorrow and do the tiki bar cam or something as we watch the snow melt. But we'll get into that. We'll talk a little happiness tomorrow and such. Thanks to Rob Reichel today. Thanks to Kevin Wheeler today. And we're going to continue to take a look around the National League Central. We're going to continue to be on watch, so to speak. But I don't think there's going to be anything had here in the sooner rather than later. So let's just kind of hang on to the later. We'll get through March, into March, when a lot more cap hits and such begin to take place, and some of the free agent signings begin. And then obviously after June 1st, you're going to see an even more active market when a lot of these veterans are cut loose. So that'd be it. Good stuff today. Good stuff today. Appreciate it. Thanks to Elmo for making an appearance. I'd show him, but he's back under the desk. So he just went there during my little discussion about deadening the baseball. So until we're back at it again tomorrow, time for us to get out of here. Have a good one. See ya.